Hello, Spider friends, and welcome to another episode of the Spider-Man Retrospective. I am Dr. Kaka, Travis Snell.
Oh snap, I didn't think of a name. I am...
Oh snap, Dylan Musk.
I'm the Oh snap and Dylan Musk.
I am the Spot, Kyle Smith.
Oh, Jesus! Shout out to our episode we did previously. So, if you don't know what this podcast is, we are watching every episode of the 1994 classic animated Spider-Man show, Spider-Man. And we have reviewed every episode, so you can go back and catch up, or if you want to jump on now, it'd be best, I'd say, to watch the episodes beforehand, but we give you
There's definitely a progression. You have to have the story from the beginning.
But if not, you could still listen along, because we do break down the episodes. I do give a little, quattro.
A little quattro.
I actually don't know what I was going on.
I wouldn't be surprised if most people who listen to this...
You give it a 4?
I don't know. Admittedly, I have no idea where I was going with it. I saw something, and I was just trying to figure... I did not have
the
wiki.
Yeah, pull up. I didn't have the wiki, so I was trying to buy some time. And you know what? It worked for the most part. So, how are you guys doing?
Great.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I'm pretty good.
I wish I had a hotter tea, but, you just deal with what you got.
Wow.
It's true. Yeah, Kyle, for the viewers, is pretty salty with his recent Tim Hortons expedition.
Mm-hmm.
Food wasn't that good. They forgot the bacon. Tea's not that hot.
Yeah.
But, you still got soup, and that could redeem it all.
It could. Chicken noodle soup could be the redemption in this scenario.
But, by the time you get to it, it might be cold, and then...
Well...
Then yikes.
Yikes.
And that's what you call, ladies and gentlemen, stalling. Because thank you very much.
We're not getting that Tim Hortons sponsorship anymore.
Yeah, great. Venom Returns, episode 37. The symbiote returns to Earth and travels to Ravencroft to recruit to reunite with Eddie Brock, who then escapes as Venom. This is ordered by Dormammu. Dormammu. I forgot. Before Doctor Strange, I didn't know that's how it was actually pronounced. I just thought it was Dormammu, but Dormammu. Yes. To whom the symbiote owes its earthly return, to steal a machine from Stark Enterprises capable of releasing Dormammu from his own... Dormammu. What is it actually now?
Dormammu.
Dormammu's better. Releasing Dormammu from his own far-off dimension. What do we think about this episode? This is the kickoff to a two-parter.
Yes, this is.
Spoilers, Carnage, which is big shout. There's been a fan for months that actually has been watching these, and he keeps asking when we're going to do these episodes.
It's true.
I did tell him we are going in order. He then asked me again later on down the line. So I hope you're happy, because we're here. We're finally here at the Carnage Venom episodes. But first, before we get to Carnage, what do we think about Venom Returns?
Venom Returns actually is... It's definitely a lot of setup for part 2. Mm-hmm. And so I think for that reason, I wasn't that into it. There's no MJ Felicia stuff in this episode at all. And yeah, it's really just kind of introducing these characters, reintroducing Eddie Brock. Mm-hmm. So it's an alright episode. I think it serves its purpose as, getting you into the Venom and then introducing Carnage and stuff like that. But as a standalone episode, it's not one I'd go back and watch.
Yeah.
I would have to agree with that as well, too. I think it was great to kind of remember who Eddie Brock was, and the introduction to Carnage, which I guess
Cletus Cassidy.
Yeah,
one of the most comic book names ever.
I was just calling him Bomb Voyage because he had that bomb at the very beginning, and he just was kind of annoying. So,
so I thought it was interesting, kind of that aspect, to see what they were doing with that. But again, it was mostly just a setup more than anything else.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I think I liked it because I like these characters from the past. I'm a big fan of Carnage, so it's always fun to see him get introduced. And Venom, I like what they do with Venom, with this whole kind of this, not obsession, but this love he has for his doctor, and he's trying to rehabilitate, and if I had a second chance, I do things differently. For me, it's hard to talk about this one without talking about part 2, so I will refrain from that. But I think when you look at the Venom episodes that we reviewed previously, I think for all of us, we'd agree they're in the top echelon of the series. Really, and I think when I watched this and Carnage, I was a little disappointed with watching it at this age, and I've watched them even 2 years ago, but really watching them be like, okay, how do they compare the episodes? I felt like for two-parters, this was one that should have been knocked out of the park from both, and I feel like it didn't get that, and the first episode has that. I think this would have been better as a 3-parter, because I think we go through way too much stuff way too quick. In just this first episode, You got whatever's going on with just Spider-Man in general.
Yeah.
You have Venom back. You have Cletus Cassidy's whole setup. You have fucking Dormammu, and you have Baron Mordo.
Yeah,
like
but we've seen them before.
You have, but I think it's just they all set up. But I don't know if, and we'll get into it, I don't know if I liked Dormammu and Mordor being
Mordor.
Mordu.
I feel so bad for you, Travis. You're just,
you know what?
Your way.
It is Mordu, isn't it? Mordo. God, it's been a long day. Baron Mordor. I always had the R because Mordor. Either way, I don't know if I liked them being the reason Venom and Carnage happened. Okay. I think from a writing standpoint, they could have found a way to make it just that Venom symbiote is back and somehow that spawns Carnage and make that the real crutch of the issue and find some other reason
fair enough.
Carnage has to go to Stark Industries, because that's what I mean. I know we've met all those characters before, but it was just like, okay, this happening and this happened. It felt like we jumped way over. I think episode 2 levels out a bit, but this is, like you guys have already said, a lot of setup. I feel like it's too much setup for a 22-minute episode.
I agree, because in the second part of this, I'm kind of jumping forward here, but the Dormammu finale is kind of lackluster, so I feel like they could have done something different.
They all just get sucked in a funny hole.
And he's there, he's in reality for 5 seconds and then he's gone.
Oh!
I was pretty disappointed with that. I do like Baron Mordo though. I think he's I don't know, he's a fun character. I like his powers. I like that he can kind of just cruise around as a force ghost and do whatever the hell he wants.
Mary Jane's former dad. Right.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, remember he tricked her into saying
in that weird cult episode. Yeah.
Yeah. Just how do we meet Baron Mordo? Oh, this cult episode that kicked off this season actually.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah.
So it all comes back around again.
It does. Yeah, they signed him to a deal. It's like, you're coming back for the finale. Mm-hmm.
So what do you guys think of Carnage then, in terms of his look and his voice and everything about him?
I'll let you guys start. Well, I'll let Kyle start and then you go, because I don't want to throw out any comic book bias, because he's a very, very popular comic book character, much like Venom, much like the Joker, or much like the Punisher. As far as darker comic book fans go, he's in that realm of every punk kid who was 15 has a Carnage, Punisher, Joker hoodie. That's the if there's any gothy kid in the school, Carnage is my guy, Punisher is my guy, Joker is my guy. So that was me. I wasn't gothy, but I had the Joker hoodie, and
you were definitely gothy.
I was not goth. I never had my hair black or anything like that.
You didn't do the whole eyeliner thing like Spider-Man 3?
No, not yet. I'm waiting.
Spider-Man 3.
For Carnage, for myself, I thought it was kind of just a pretty simple character of just, hey, I just want to do bad things and I'm just bad, so who cares?
It's true. Yeah.
I'm bad. So I thought it was okay.
Not Michael Jackson's bad.
Yeah, not bad. Also, I was kind of unsure about his voice, and I don't know, I guess he's supposed to come off really crazy and insane as more of his character, which I get, but kind of really reminded me of not kind of a bit of the Joker in a sense, in a way. And I thought it was a lot of parallels of just how insane he is, and just wants to do bad things, I guess, but that's a little bit different from what the Joker is.
Yeah.
But I thought it was alright. I kind of like him. I thought sorry. I was a little confused of just how he's just telling the symbiote how he wants to be bad and convincing the symbiote to come onto him, and that's how they became Carnage, and was this whole all I instead of the we is working together as the symbiote and him, which was it was pretty cool to see, and that was the biggest difference between him and Venom, which was cool. But I don't know, Carnage was all right for me. I don't know, didn't really hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I feel similar. His voice was kind of annoying at times, and I mean I thought he had some funny moments, but overall he didn't really have much depth, right? He's just I'm bad, and that's all there is to it. His look as well, I don't know, I didn't love it personally.
Just Cletus's or Carnage's look, or both.
Well, I don't really care what Cletus looks like.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
But yeah, Carnage's look in general, it just seemed a little basic to me. I mean, I don't know what any other Carnage renditions are supposed to look like, or what he traditionally looks like.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any thing going in with that. I do like some of the effects he had. He had these finger. He would I don't know. He'd remove his fingers or kind of turn into missiles, kind of.
Yeah, they're
pretty I thought it was cool, and he could turn his hand into an axe. Yeah. So I thought some of those effects that he used in the fight scenes were pretty sweet. But overall, yeah, he was a little bland, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Especially a character that, I mean, this particular fan was getting pretty hyped on Carnage. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what I was expecting because I don't know anything about the character elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But as for this part 1, at least, he was a little boring. I think he gets a bit better in part 2.
I think he does. I think the problem is with part 2 he does kind of take over. I think that the other thing again is with Venom and how we met him. It was purely Venom had Eddie Brock, but it was purely just those guys, like those two together as the driving forces as the bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
Where Carnage always feels like he's in the background. In this episode he does because he's just in prison. And he's, you get that little intro scene, and then he gets the suit at the end. And then the second one, he's always kind of just going along with Dormammu or Baron Mordo's plan. Like, you would think that at some point, okay, the turn's gonna come where he doesn't want to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. I get it. They do in part 2 explain of like, hey, he will do this just because he wants the symbiote. So fair enough. Mm-hmm. I think Carnage is a great character. Carnage is. I think we always talk about villains, and the best villains are the ones that have a big backstory. They're in depth. There's a reason why they could be the hero in their story.
And a lot of times in Spider-Man 2, they have like a lot of ties to Peter Parker in his life or people that he knows. Yeah, exactly.
And for just comics, not talking about this, the two biggest examples that are the exceptions of the rule. DC has the Joker, which Joker has a lot of levels to him, but at the end of the day, he's just this crazy guy who wants to cause anarchy, but it works because he's a cool character, and they give him great dialogue, and he has a great look. Carnage is the same way in the comic books. It's like he's insane. He is a serial killer. Like they allude to that. I have that amount of notes. Tons of alluding when they're just talking about him committing crimes, but he loves his job. Like they do have to cut him out from the knees a little in this because you can't get into he's a really deranged guy. They can't say death or they can't say serial killer, and he's a really deranged guy. It's just kind of like, let's say if Dexter was a bad guy and he got the symbiote, where this just seems like he's just a regular, he has a fucking bomb at the beginning of this episode. That's not Cletus Cassidy. He's not running around bombing things. He's running around killing women and children. He's a really fucked up guy. So that's why you see the difference. I think they do a good job of showing the difference. Mostly, I think I agree. His voice is kind of a hit or miss for me at times. I think his look, I like his look, but it looks a little too cartoony. They do it a little bit, but Carnage is always known for his symbiote is always all over the place. It's really sporadic. It's almost like Kylo Ren's lightsaber, where it's always kind of on edge, and that's because Cletus is always on edge, right? He's a very messed up individual.
I thought they kind of alluded to that.
They do. There's just many times where he's solid, and the other thing is I think they could have done a better differential of the size between him and Venom, because Venom is known as a big stocky symbiote, and Cletus is the really skinny snaky sort of symbiote. So they kind of do that. They do allude to it in times.
Is he a less of a humanoid? Are you saying in the comics?
What do you mean?
Because obviously in this he's smaller than Venom still, but he just looks like a regular dude.
Maybe
I guess,
it's just because Eddie Brock is, I guess, in comics more buff, than Cletus Cassidy. So maybe I was looking for that. It just always looks like Venom's a bit more imposing and I
definitely felt that though.
Okay, fair enough. I just remember there's sometimes where Cletus he has the animated pecs and he's really buff.
He was pretty buff.
Yeah, where sometimes Carnage can feel kind of amoeba type of shape.
Yeah.
So I think he's a good adaptation. I think he does get better in episode 2. I think they do a good job of just making him insane, even if the stuff doesn't work. Sure. That's where I think it almost doesn't have to be funny, because if it's not funny, it's well, he's fucking crazy. It's not like the Flash and Justice League where it's oh, these jokes should be hitting because it's comedic relief, right? They could say something and it not land at all, but just kind of works because well, he's out of his mind. He's not even just a serial killer. He's just completely insane. So I think they do a good enough job. I don't think it's a knock out of the park, and I think once again, I think if we didn't have him tied to Dormammu and Baron Mordo, I think it could have been better. I think he was kind of in the back, and I think they just didn't give him a shot. He never felt he felt insane, but he never felt imposing like Venom did those times where he's coming
Maybe they did that because they have to kind of hold back for this animated show because it's meant for children, and they can't get into the full I guess content of that character, so maybe they instead decide to kind of pair him with some other people.
More a G-rated version of just trying to tame it down to make it you are making a very scary, intimidating I guess character, but at the same time it's you gotta remember you're showing this off to kids, and you shouldn't go too much into it. So what do we think about Eddie Brock's return? How do we feel about Eddie? He's kind of a reformed individual.
I'd say he's
Yeah.
trying to be a better individual, and he's like in a prison slash. Well, he's in Ravencroft, so it's a prison slash like insane asylum. So it's their Arkham Asylum in a
Right.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked Eddie Brock. I'm glad he's back, and I'm mostly because I like Venom, and I'm glad to see Venom back. But Eddie, I think as well, like his storyline with that nurse or whoever she was.
I don't know if I actually wrote her name down.
I don't think I did.
I think her last name, that was my nickname. I don't know, it's either her or someone else. Someone's name is literally Dr. Kaka.
Dr. Kaka.
Dr. Kaka, and I got a little laugh.
I don't remember that.
It was in there.
Really?
Dr. Kaka. Kaka.
But yeah, I think it's an interesting place to start with Eddie Brock and getting him to meet Cletus. So yeah, I like Eddie Brock enough. I think mostly because of Venom, but I don't think there's much to say about him, honestly. I think he more shines in the second part as well.
Yeah. And because I just want to get a clarification on Cletus Cassidy. So he had a troubled childhood. He killed his grandmother by pushing her down a flight of stairs. He tortured his mother's dog, Fifi, after his father killed his mother, and received no defense from Cassidy during the trial. As an orphan, Cassidy was sent to Home for Boys, where blah 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 blah. He murdered the administration there. He pushed a girl who refused to date him in front of a bus, and then he burned down the orphanage.
So he just kills people.
So that's where it's like you just get the sense of like he's this guy who, and that's why I had to look it up. I've read Carnage for years, but it's just like he has this riddled backstory of just all this terrible shit he's done, and that's where it's like, I think if you would hear all that in a movie, let's say Venom coming up, I'm not sure when this comes up, but the Venom movie, Carnage is the bad guy. If you just hear that read off by a police officer, I feel like you're scared of this guy already. Him holding up some thing with a bomb, it's not scary, and that's why I feel like you lose...
Unsuccessfully as well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think you lose a lot, but I just wanted to get that out there because I know there's lots of Carnage fans out there, so I know they'd want a shout out of some of that fun stuff he did.
He does look cool, at least in that wiki that you just had open. Mm-hmm. Interesting character. Mm-hmm. I like in this episode, I guess it's kind of throughout these last 4 episodes closing out the season, but Madame Web's always just like this really mysterious character, but obviously her and Peter's relationship is kind of
all over.
I guess it's kind of evolved because they're more like he's more used to this now, getting sucked into this other dimension and having her like mess with his head. And I like what she does in these 2 episodes where she's like, oh, you're gonna team up with an unlikely person, or you're gonna keep your enemies closer. And I just love how
the most
it's
subtle hint.
It's so cheesy because he's always like, who is it? He's like cruising around the city. He's like, who could it be? Who is she talking about?
My friend's closer, but my enemy's closer. Who is my enemy? And like I can't remember who he accuses, but I don't think it's this. But I feel like War Machine falls down and he's like, is that a friend or an enemy? Maybe that's who she's talking about. And it's like he's just assuming people are enemies. Like,
I love it.
Peter Parker is so fucking dumb in these anime shows sometimes,
But like, he's so smart at times too. Like crazy. He's
smart.
He's the smartest guy I'll ever meet.
Yeah.
But yet he can't. Like he just gets so baffled by these really simple riddles.
Man, thank God he wasn't in like Gotham when the Riddler was around. Holy fuck, he'd have no success. Yeah. Okay. Kyle, you didn't mention, what do you think about Eddie Brock?
For me, Eddie Brock I think he was alright. Mm-hmm. Like, we kind of already got a lot of information from him before, and it was nice to get a little bit of that refresher of what happened in his past and kind of back to it again.
Yeah, they give like a quick flashback to all the stuff he did.
And then you realize, like, man, like, this guy's been through the shits. Like,
he really
no wonder why he's, like, still pissed off at Peter Parker.
Yeah, but it's still, at the end of the day, he should be blaming Peter. You know?
Well, I guess for him, he's still blaming Peter. But it's kind of... I find it kind of interesting how, he's in this psych ward or whatever, and he's talking to that doctor that he's, like, in love with about, like, how much he hates Peter Parker. But then, like... She's like, oh, I gotta go now. And he's like, wait, no, don't leave me.
Well, I think my problem. I like Eddie in these episodes. When he gets Venom, that's great. But I think I didn't love the whole in love with the daughter thing. Because just like that scene you explained, you get no vibes that he cares for this woman until he leaves. And it's just like, don't leave me. And to me, it's like, is that really, and they play it off like love, but really, is it just because he's just alone? And I know that's it, but they don't really get into that. And I feel like that's really forced. And definitely...
Well, that's probably just because they have so many other characters cruising around.
It is, but then also it's different because we, in our Netflix order, it made us watch it before, But in the next episode, technically, after the 2 parts, The Spot, which we already reviewed, check it out, that's like a similar thing where it's the scientist guy,
Yes.
no one else likes him, then he falls for this girl, right? Like, I feel like that happens, that's like one of the biggest tropes in the show, like the villain falls for just this one girl, and he just like, just because she says hi or like looks at him and just like, that's it, you know? Like, I can't remember who else it was, but wasn't there that fucking girl in the X-Men crossover that was secretly the mutant and the same thing, like the evil doctor fell for, like, you know, even to extent Morbius and Felicia fall in love really quickly. And I know that's the fun that we like about the show. Yeah. But that's where in times like this where it's just 2 episodes, I don't buy enough in spoilers for Eddie to fucking sacrifice himself for this woman. I get it, Eddie's been through tough times, so maybe it's just because she's nice. But that's why I feel like this needed to be maybe a 3-part. Because I need more time with those 2 for me to like care.
I don't know, man. I kind of got the feeling like when they had their first scene together, I didn't know that he was in a prison cell just because like the scene was kind of
Where
like.
do you think he was?
Well, I don't know. It was just like a zoomed in shot. Like there was no cages or anything. So I was like, I guess I forgot like where he had left off. Or
I
something.
think they're jail cells. They don't keep inmates in cages for the most part.
Okay, well, cages.
Same.
Whatever you wanted to say, Travis.
No, you know what?
Like,
Because he would have called me out on that, so I'm gonna call him out on that. They're jail cells, Travis.
They're jail cells. What was I saying, Travis? What was I saying?
You were saying you didn't know that.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, he was just big chill. And he was sitting there, and he had like that girl was with him, and they were just like talking or something. And I just thought it was like his girlfriend or something in like some apartment. I didn't know they were in prison yet. So I don't know. I kind of got that vibe right from the get go that they kind of had some chemistry or something together.
Fair enough.
I think they could have written it a little bit differently, as saying like how he wants like something about how he still likes her in that kind of first. Bit there when he was going over kind of his past and
in third person he's like, Eddie loves this doctor he has, and she's just like, oh fuck.
Oh fuck. Big bold letters.
Can I get a transfer? Yeah, I'll work with Cletus instead.
They could have just alluded to that a little, but otherwise, you know what? It's still a 22-minute episode, so it's hard to get all that information.
So let's talk about this little Civil War crossover. We had War Machine and Tony Stark. Not Iron Man yet, but War Machine and Tony Stark in this episode. Stark Enterprise.
This is the first time we see War Machine, correct? In the animated series?
Yeah, and Tony too. We've heard alluded to Tony. I think.
We've seen him.
Just as Tony though?
Was it in the Spot episode? It might have been in the Spot episode.
But remember that happens after.
Yeah, I know. That's
in the real Carnage. But yeah, you see a scene of him because he takes that guy's shit. And he's like, "You're not the Spot," and like that's not the scene. Like,
you're not the Spot.
I'm the Spot. I'm the Iron Spot.
That's the one.
But yeah, this is technically like chronologically the first time we see him. We should be, but really first time we see War Machine, and I think the show's like one of its strengths is always really working into like these characters. We've seen it with Blade. We've seen it with. Oh, I almost spoiled somebody else. We've seen it with Daredevil. I think they don't, most of the time, they don't feel ham-fisted. They work really well in getting them in there. It's like, okay, Dormammu wants this interdimensional portal opening thing, right? Who would have that? Well, Tony Stark. It makes sense, right? And I like the set piece of Venom, Carnage, and Spider-Man all attacking the Stark Enterprises, and it would make sense why War Machine has to come in, and Tony alludes like, oh yeah, and I'll try to send someone else. Obviously, Iron Man doesn't get there in time in this episode, but still, like, I think it all works. I like War Machine this episode. This is a crossover from Iron Man, I'm pretty sure. I think it was only one season. It had an animated show, which was actually like this, really good, really underrated, but people didn't watch it.
Iron Man?
Yeah. It was the same time X-Men. They got the big boom. Silver Surfer had one well, but they just didn't have audiences. But maybe one day we'll watch those. But for me, is that like those episodes? I like seeing War Machine and Tony Stark. I think they incorporated well, and good times. Anytime you get other Marvel characters, it's fun.
It's true. I agree. War Machine. I mean, I like his look. I like his voice. That's pretty much all that there is to it. And I like that he just hops in here as well. I mean, he doesn't need we don't really need backstory or anything.
He's just defending.
Yeah, he's just some cool looking dude to come help out the good guys, which is kind of interesting to see because usually, like, if there's anyone on Spidey's side, it's like either someone he defeated at one point and now has joined his side, or else no one really. He's kind of just by himself.
Or they're his lawyer.
Or they're his lawyer. Classic.
Yeah. For myself, War Machine was pretty good. I liked him how he came in and kind of helped out Spider-Man, and Spider-Man still was unsure of who is this guy and is he
an enemy? No, Peter, he's not.
So I thought that was kind of neat, and how they're all going there back and forth, and I thought the fight scene kind of with all of them was pretty cool too.
Yeah. That's what I'll say with Carnage and like Venom already has that, but I think all of Carnage's action set pieces are done well. It's because he has these cool fucking weapon hands, and anytime you can do like have weapon hands, you're gonna have a good time. So
you're set up for success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't have too. I have like fun little notes, but I don't have too much.
I have a classic quote. So at one point, I don't remember where exactly he says this, but Peter says, "Make a warrior out of me. I'm still fighting acne." And I was like, no, that's total bullshit. Like, this guy is jacked. He has perfectly smooth skin. Like, that is just a cold, hard lie, man. Nice try.
I think...
I have one from, I think it was earlier. I can't remember what was going on, but I think it was Carnage. He's like, oh, rest in pieces, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
The classic one.
I can't remember who watched this, because I watched these episodes a few weeks ago, and then we had to record them later. Someone said I could eat you for breakfast and then I'll give you indigestion.
That was definitely Carnage.
I think it was Carnage. Yeah, and I think they had.
I think that was when they were. Actually, I think it was before they were Venom and Carnage. They were just chilling in their prison cells.
That's right. Yeah, and I do feel like they had good chemistry there, and when they were Venom and Carnage, I think with Carnage, I wanted him to feel a bit more. I guess that's it. I wanted him to feel a bit more radical and unpredictable. Where when he's working with these guys, he doesn't feel like that, right? Yeah. But anytime when he was with Venom, it did feel like, at any point these two could start fighting and turn on each other. So I think they did a good job with that. I would give them that. So I have a note here that with that bomb Carnage has, Spider-Man is like looking for a place to get rid of it. He just does the classic throws in the air, and he's like, "No damage will happen here." He says some line like that. It's like, no, there's still gonna be some sort of damage. Like there could be, and when he does throw it, it's not even that high above buildings. It's like.
Well, he has to throw it 200 meters, which I thought was kind of
very specific.
He's like, especially it's a metric, not an
imperial. I like the metric. Very
cool. You think it's like a U.S. show, but I was like, all right, we're doing metric.
It's like, where can I get rid of this bomb in this city?
200 meters up in the air.
Yeah, classic.
Any other notes?
No.
I have one when he was with Madam Web. When
Madam Web.
When Spider-Man first like, oh man, like. I knew I was coming here right away, and she's kind of like, well, and then she calls him, she just ends up calling him out for being like, well, I'm glad you can catch the obvious things.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like alluding back to what we were talking about earlier, how Spider-Man, he's so smart, but at the same time, it's just like,
he's pretty dumb.
He's kind of dumb. It's just interesting.
Yeah. I'll give this episode a thumbs up then if we're doing that. I think it's a solid episode. It's not a bad episode. It's not. I think like you said, not one of the like top tier ones. But as far as if you like the character Carnage and I do, I can still watch it and enjoy it because I can see the close enough to. And I still think it's a good enough adaptation. I think they just have to skew it a little bit. So yeah, it's a thumbs up for me. I liked it.
I'll put it a middle thumb, actually.
Middle thumb.
You know, it worked reintroducing some characters from before, and that's pretty much all the episode is, honestly. It's a lot of setup for me, so, yeah, middle thumb.
Yeah. I'm going to give it a middle thumb.
Oh!
I was kind of debating on the upper end, but, you know, kind of what we talked about is a lot more setup than, like, actually just enjoying it.
Yeah.
And I will mention that the episode ends in, like, a cliffhanger where it's like they're about to kill Spider-Man. Right? That's yeah. So just to set up, Carnage, episode 38, when Eddie refuses to continue to work with Dormammu, Carnage is considered sufficient. Oh my god,
Suffocant.
Travis. Sufficient. I am really tired. Sufficient to collect life force, which is essential to Dormammu to enter Earth. Carnage kidnaps. Oh, here we go. Dr. Ashley Kafka. I think it is Kafka, but I think there's some voice actor that had an accent and sounded like Kafka. But Dr. Kafka, whom Eddie has fallen in love with. Eddie then reluctantly teams with Iron Man and Spider-Man to save her. So, yeah, and that the Carnage sucking the life force feels like another Morbius thing where they can't save blood. So it's like, I'll take your plasma, you know? Like
he definitely takes a lot of life force.
Yeah.
Isn't it like the Temple of Time or whatever, where they're taking people's lives as well, too?
a lot of life force taking. I will say, I forgot to mention, I like that is it Lieutenant or Detective Lee?
Yeah, Detective Lee.
Is it Detective? I wasn't sure ranking. I like that they do carry the first episode and the second episode that Cletus just fucking hates her for locking him up, and he's just always just like, at one point he has to go find somebody in life force. He's like, I know that perfect person. It's like, you can get anybody off the street, but he makes sure he goes to the fucking detective's house. I like that carried over, but
that seems like it fits that character.
Yeah.
Carnage.
I like this episode more. This episode's much more. It's pretty much just like an action episode for the most part. It's lots of fighting, but I think the set pieces are done well. I think, like Dylan said, Dormammu kind of gets a lackluster entrance and exit, but I think the whole dimension thing is good up until the point where just everybody's going through that whole like hooker on Sunday. Like it is. There's so many people getting
right after church.
Hey, that's the best time for business.
Exactly.
But I think the fight is good. I like seeing Iron Man and Spider-Man work together. Even Venom in there, but Iron Man and Spider-Man seem like they do like little combo moves, like you do this, Spider-Man, and they do like swings, like like those work. I really like Iron Man. That's good. I don't love Iron Man's look actually per take. It's very close to like 60s. Like he looks like all his armor's like really like rounded and whatnot.
It doesn't really look like armor. It looks like it looks like
space shoot.
It looks like
a space shoot,
which we're talking about offcast, but almost like something like 3D printed armor. Like that's what it looks like. I like War Machine's look much better, but yeah, it's a good action episode. Carnage I think gets some good moments. I like that he's just being crazy, just sucking people's life force. So yeah, it's a good episode. I liked it.
I think I'll piggyback you on that, Travis, as well.
Piggybacky.
I thought it was a really fun episode to watch. There's lots of things kind of happening. There's lots of characters, and I think it's just, if you haven't watched it, you should watch it.
That's a good recommendation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this episode quite a bit more than the first part. I just feel like this is kind of where, I mean, that episode, like we just talked about, was all set up for this one, and I feel like they knocked it out of the park with this one. Just a lot of fun seeing all these characters and the resolutions of them, with the exception of Dormammu. I'm really disappointed in like how that character ends off. I like him throughout the episode and everything until the very end when he gets spawned in reality for 5 seconds,
and he
gets ripped back out.
Don't know if he ever comes back into the series. I'll be honest, I don't 100% remember, because if I remember the next 2 arcs for the last 2 seasons, I don't know. Maybe there's some sort of appearance, but I don't think it's and I guess this is kind of like his closing, because we met him in the very beginning of the season, right? Like that was the whole thing. They're always trying to bring him out. Maybe they were just really trying to spin off that Doctor Strange show, and they just never did it. They're like, no, we're not gonna do Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange. Yeah, I don't think that would have gone well.
No, Iron Man, Silver King, Silver Surfer.
Yeah, so yeah, Iron Man. I agree with you that his look isn't that great, but I still liked seeing him.
Good voice actor.
I still like having him there as part of the cast.
Good voice actors, no Downey, but this was before
he's no Downey, but
so.
he's as close as you can get.
Yeah, it works.
And then there's also some spicy MJ stuff that happens briefly in this episode as well. So this is just an all around solid episode.
Are you talking about the "He loves me"?
Yeah.
Which
is apparently
Yeah. Kyle, what do you think about this? Oh, you kind of did you say you did?
Yeah. He said if you haven't watched it, you should.
Right, he did.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the MJ moment. Yeah, so Brock shows up, which I liked was kind of like a fun allude to the OG Venom episodes, right? Of like that moment when Venom and Eddie show up at his place. It's this oh shit moment. So they kind of like do a tribute to that, and I think it works well because this is the reverse where he's once again looking for Peter, but to actually work with him and help him. Where of course it like subverts your expectations. Because the second you see him on the doorstep, you're like, oh no, shit's going down. Like Aunt May's there, MJ's there. Oh no, and then he just casually throws like, oh yeah, no wonder why Peter loves you or something like that, or he loves you so much, and just she's like, he loves me. Like
she's just shocked. Like she is completely baffled by this. I don't know. It's pretty cheesy. But
it is, but I think she could have a reason to be shocked. He's so,
I agree.
So much of a aloof. He's always all over the place. Like there could be a chance that she might think it's just a fling for him, and she's really committed. Yeah. So and that it is kind of strange that the first way she learns is through Brock. One of his greatest enemies. But
he just keep your enemies closer.
The other thing is, I was wondering, do you remember how much did Venom end up kidnapping MJ in the original episodes? No, he didn't, right? Because I was trying to figure out how much MJ knows Eddie Brock or Venom, because I don't remember them having too much of a connection around. I thought that was when Peter and her were kind of split for a bit, so I think there was alluding to MJ, but I don't think so, because it felt like she knew him, but I felt like that was a little unwarranted. Like, what are you doing here, Eddie? Yeah. And I don't even know if they had a scene together originally. They may have.
I can't remember if they did. Maybe it's just one of those things where Eddie's kind of this character who's just kind of around. You know, he's just one of those.
Taking photos.
He's just big chilling in New York. You know who he is. He's Eddie Brock. I mean, he was also all over the news and stuff, wasn't he? Probably.
He was. Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's quite possible, like maybe Peter brought up, oh, this Eddie guy is trying to take my job from me, so I'm just gonna screw him over.
He didn't screw him over. Oh my
I'm gonna
god.
screw him over. Definitely the way of Peter.
Remember when they tried to do that in the Spider-Man 3 movie?
We don't talk about Venom and Spider-Man.
Check out our review. Yeah. Any other thoughts on MJ there? Quick.
I mean, that's the only scene she has, right?
Yeah, it's much more spicy than the next 2 episodes of some stuff going on. With them. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, so I wanted to throw out this line because it made no sense. It literally happens within 20 to 30 seconds. I can't remember what Spider-Man is trying to remember or figure out, but he's trying to figure out something, and he's like, I wonder if Madam Web would know. And then Madam Web, like I said, 20 seconds, 30 seconds later, the comes and he's there, and he's like, "Hey, I don't have time with this. I'm helping Iron Man." That's the line verbatim. So it felt like really oddly edited and oddly paced that he was wondering if Madam Web knew something. And then when she gets him, not that long after that, "Hey, I don't have time for this." It's like, man, you could ask her that question. I actually don't know if he asked her that question. He was wondering.
I don't think he ever asks her. Well, I don't know. I guess he does.
He does, then Madam Web just doesn't tell him.
Yeah, she always
he fucking
answers with another question that's even more obscure than his question.
He's like, "No, I have too many questions."
And every time he knows it's gonna happen, but he's like, maybe this time she won't.
Yeah, she psychs him out.
Poor guy. Yeah, she's got the mind games for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have much on this episode because I feel like it was lots of action. There's a good line where Venom says, "You may be our spawn, but that won't stop us from destroying you." Blah, and like, but it's pretty much just like Carnage is going around New York, sucking people's life force. Him and Spider-Man have a fight scene. Carnage is strong because he's throwing fucking tanks around at one point.
Oh, dude, he's flipping tanks like no problem.
Yeah.
And then he says, "Just like sardine cans, snack time." I was like,
That,
what?
I love when he has those phrases.
Because
When he says snack time, he's like, "Snack time!" Like, he really withdraws.
I just thought the sardine cans was like such a bizarre thing to have there.
And I did like in this episode 4 more because I feel like he's just popping off and just
he's always
throwing out all this random stuff. But it's literally just that. Him and Spider-Man fight, they team up together, they take out the bad guys, they go in this inner dimension, and then that's about it. Like, Carnage and Venom end up fighting together outside, and Venom, or Eddie, gives his life for
Kafka.
Yeah, and then he does say that, if he went to Venom again, he may never be Eddie again, so they leave that back.
Well, we saw Dr. Connors again.
We did see Dr. Connors, lots of quick cameos by the OG members, but yeah, so they leave us with that thing of like, Eddie may never be Venom again. So what do you...
Eddie may never be Eddie again.
Oh, right, sorry.
That's the one.
Yeah, that's the one.
I was going to say that kind of at the beginning I found that Mordor was almost babysitting. He's like, "Hey, you Mordo, sorry.
Yeah, I've been seeing it up.
Mordo's like, "Hey, you kids, like, knock it off. Like, we got a job to do," type thing, and trying to get them to, like, instead of, like, fighting each other, like, to work together.
I feel like Venom leaves really anticlimactic, though. He's just like, "I'm not doing this," and they're like, "Oh, Carnage will suffice," and they don't even worry about, like, what Eddie's really doing. Like,
they're not even, he knows our secret lair.
Yeah, everything. They're like, "No, Carnage, we got Carnage."
And he's pretty strong, too.
But I also kind of like how they gave us a little bit of backstory of, like, how they got the symbiote back onto Earth. If that makes sense, like using the spaceship, to fly it around and coming back.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty, because otherwise you had no idea how they got the symbiote back.
That's true.
And I also found it kind of weird when Carnage kept referring Venom to as like a parent, like his dad.
Well,
it's like a parent, but like
it is.
I know this symbiote is, but it's like, why is like was it Castle? Cletus. Sorry.
Yeah.
Cattle.
I was trying to think of his last name.
Cassidy.
Yeah, or Cassidy. That's it.
Yeah.
Why they're referring like Cassidy and Eddie, and how Cassidy's like, "Oh, you're my dad," and it's just like,
because I think because once he bonds with the symbiote, he just begets even more crazy, and I think he just feels like he is the symbiote now, you know. So I feel like, and then
Eddie doesn't give a shit about Cletus anymore.
Eddie in turn is the father, right?
Yeah.
And then they have a kid in the comics called Toxin. Carnage.
What?
Carnage and Venom symbiotes like morph and create Toxin.
God.
Very spicy.
You'll never see Toxin. He's not as popular as Venom.
Toxin.
He looks cool. I'll find him up. I think he maybe was a woman at one point, maybe.
Oh, really? That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
I liked seeing I guess Eddie Brock teaming up with Spidey. Like, I guess before his storyline ends, I like to see them kind of.
Yeah, like look, he's like
Say
a weird
some piece.
combo of Venom, Carnage, and Spider-Man. Even has the blue there, so
That is pretty cool.
yeah.
You know, good for Toxin. You know, I wonder if Toxin makes it into the Spider-Man animated series.
Phase 4. He
He's
doesn't make it. He doesn't.
He's gonna have a solo movie, Toxin. People
Yeah,
be like,
you
"What
know,
is
he
this?"
doesn't. He's not gonna be in the Soul series.
I have a quote here
Okay.
from.
He's not even been in any anime movies.
Wow.
He's been in one video game.
TV show?
Or he's been in 2. No, like no TV shows. He's
Oh,
been
poor guy.
toys. He's been in 2 TV shows or 2 video games.
That's more video games than I've been in, so, you know, good for Toxin.
One day.
Yeah, so I have a quote here from sometime during the battle. Spidey's talking about Mordo, and he says, "Careful! They're like some kind of mystic bolts," in terms of, like, what he's using to attack.
Mm.
And I don't know, I just thought it was a kind of an interesting way. Mystic bolts.
Mystic
It's
bolts?
pretty, it just kind of fits, like, you know, how Peter always is, how he's describing shit.
Yep.
Like, sometimes he's very specific, and sometimes mystic bolts.
I was surprised we didn't see Doctor Strange come in again with all this interdimensional.
Yeah, it doesn't
stuff.
make any sense really why he wouldn't have like some sort of
Because
cameo.
it wasn't like the first time it's like, oh, I knew something was happening with
Yeah, he
like
showed up.
the interdimensional, and it's like, oh, like Tony Stark's building another interdimensional. Like,
It's his
maybe
day
he
off.
should,
It's
like-
his vacation week.
I guess so.
He's in the Bahamas.
I have a good quote here from Madame Web. You know, Spidey's asking her about how she knows, like, how she can just go through time and space. That's an interesting component we didn't talk about. How she kind of,
Alludes that she could see the future.
well, because it's in this episode, right, where she, like, just moves time forward with Spidey in, like, her dimension with her,
Yeah.
and he, like,
This is
sees...
where she's doing the cards, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and because that's with, like, Eddie Brock, right, and
Yeah.
she's, like, progressing his story. So I don't know. I thought that was like pretty interesting to see, and that's pretty wild. Like we haven't really seen something like that. Well, at least we haven't really seen like actual time travel in terms of
Yeah. Not in this series.
yeah,
no.
because Spidey just straight up like moves forward in time. But anyway, he had a cool quote here. She had a cool quote: "Travel through time and space." And, like he's asking how she does it. And she's like, "What? Travel through time and space? It's simple. I practice." So I like that.
I hate that answer from all those people. You know,
I
Doctor
practice.
Strange always. They
I
always
think it's
all
cool.
these mystic people, Jedi's. You know, always I practice. I guess you do, but
Practice makes perfect.
I guess it
Kids,
does.
eat your broccoli.
Is Madame Web perfect?
We don't know.
I didn't say that.
You did say practice makes perfect, and
She's pretty good at traveling through time and space. Better than I am. Better than Spidey
She's
is.
predicting the future,
Yeah.
and just like letting Spider-Man figure
Is she
it out.
predicting the future? Or does she know the future?
She knows.
She is the
Okay.
future.
She's
Wow.
wow.
Anything else in this episode? Carnage.
I don't know. I think for me, I just wanted to see something else with Dormammu. Like,
Yeah.
I think maybe you're right. Like, maybe
you're really hung up on that. That sounds like a big disappointment for you.
it is a pretty big disappointment.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Maybe they could have done like a 3-parter.
Because then the
maybe
third part
they-
you bring in Doctor Strange and Dormammu is
Right.
out, and then it's like
Yeah, like
team of
maybe the
bad
end of the
guys, team
the
of
end of
good
the
guys.
episode,
Mhm.
Dormammu pops out of the portal, and then I don't know. Maybe shit goes awry and people teleport.
Mhm.
Maybe Eddie Brock even goes in this episode still. But then in episode 3 is when you kind of have Dormammu doing some badass shit. Could have
Perfect
Doctor
ending.
Strange come
Yeah,
back.
yeah. The dimensions are
Yeah.
broken. I know someone who can fix it, and then boom.
It's true because Madam Web does allude to like he needs to like bring his friends to help him out as well
And his
too.
enemies.
And his enemies.
True.
I think she said like that whole like friends closer but your enemies closer thing. Said it was like 3 times.
She
in this one
didn't say
episode.
no. She didn't say. She said
Just that phrase was said.
She
by
said, yeah, she said, well, that phrase, but she said it once, but then anytime he'd remember it, it was him swinging it and just
Yeah.
like, remember, Spider-Man, keep your enemies close and your friends closer. It's reversed, but still.
Yeah, no, you're right. It definitely like the quote changes,
Yeah.
even though it's like a picture of her face again. I guess it's like his memory of it, but
Mhm.
so it makes sense that it'd be different. But it is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
She also kind of foreshadows that Spidey's gonna have to make a big decision like Eddie did, which is kind of an interesting because that's like right at the end of the episode, and I think that's I don't know, it's a good question.
What
I suppose.
Madam Web is talking to about, we do get to. So when I said, I told these guys off cast, like the series finale, there's some stuff left unanswered. It's not like that. You do get to this like
Yeah.
great event she's talking about. There's just some stuff where it's kind of like, oh, okay, we're not going to answer that.
She
Okay,
takes
cool.
a long time to get there. Because when is she introduced? She's introduced
I
probably
think it
in
was-
season 2, right? Season 2, like mid season 2, maybe.
Was
Definitely
it season
season
2 or
two.
season 3?
I
The only reason I think
It's
it was
hard
this
to say
season is because it's when we met Mordo and Doctor Strange at the beginning of the season. So that would have made sense with all the supernatural stuff if we met her right after, right?
It just feels like a long time, but I guess I mean,
We did have a
we haven't
big
really
break.
been recording this a whole lot.
Yeah,
The fans listening, but
They don't know.
they don't know until I tell them.
Yeah.
The secret is we always take various months before recording these, apparently, even though we did it a lot. Anyway, any other things on this episode?
Like I said, it's. I feel like that person who's waiting for the Carnage episode is maybe really disappointed, and I'm sorry about that. But because I don't think there's not that much big character stuff that happens. There's some fun moments, like I said, the Life Force, the tank stuff, his stuff with Venom. I think Carnage and Spider-Man could, and that's why almost 3 parts. I almost wish we could have got a fun back and forth with them, because I feel like Spider-Man doesn't have much of a tie to Cletus other than he stopped him with a bomb and he's just another criminal, right? He has ties with Eddie. He kind of has ties to Dormammu even because of the Mary Jane stuff, you know, where Cletus is just the muscle, which is fine, but that's why I almost wish a 3-parter part 2 would have just been him trying to get Carnage and he realized I can't do it alone. That's when the team comes in. But it's literally they have that one fight scene, Cletus does beat him, and then it's like team comes in, right? And that's where it's like I do feel like 3 episodes would have helped and spread this stuff out. You could have had in sections of, okay, you have the supernatural stuff, you have the Venom Eddie and Carnage stuff, and then you sprinkle in Spider-Man. But I feel like it was really crammed. And other times when they've done the 2-parters, I feel like they've done it really well. This was one where I think they tried to do too much. You know, they tried to. Yeah. They asked their 10-year-old to throw the Hail Mary touchdown. It's like, well, Dad, I can only throw it 20 feet, but it's like, well, you gotta throw it 50, and that's what happened. He got to the 30. He got to the 30 mark, but he didn't get to 50. You know. So.
I mean, I think I'll just skip right to it, but I think this at least is still a fun episode. I'd give it a thumbs up still, because it is fun to watch. It's fun to see these characters. It's fun to see Iron Man teaming up with Spidey. I like to see Venom team up with Spidey. I always like Madame Web stuff. Yeah. So this is still a good episode for me. I think you're right. It just doesn't really have a whole lot of depth for each of these characters, simply because there is so many of them.
Yeah, I'm going 2. No, I'm just going 1.
Whoa, dropping the double deuce.
That's it.
Yeah, just 1 thumb. Yeah, like I said, fun episode, good character interactions.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. I think it was lots of fun to watch all the action, seeing the tanks try to shoot Carnage as he's going through the city and just destroying its own city with tanks. I don't understand.
I don't think we've ever seen tanks either. No. Like just like army, like military tanks.
That's when you know what's up.
Yeah. That's when you know when you've made it. Yeah. 6 stars on GTA.
Yeah, Carnage, Carnage mode, they'll just call it GTA 6. GTA 6 Carnage.
No, he just went out of bounds and that's why he got 6 stars.
Oh man, I would love to play a fucking Grand Theft Auto game as Cletus Cassidy. I know he kinda got that with Trevor in GTA 5, but like even more so, but
yeah, so I'll give it a thumbs up.
Nice.
Here we go for a big one. I think I'm off the wiki. Come on, Travis.
Episode 13, season 3.
Technically, it's episode.
So we're skipping episode 12, which was the spot.
We did it already. We reviewed it already. They can catch it.
You can blame Netflix for that one. It's not our fault.
Mm-hmm. And then you can blame Netflix for taking off Canadian.
And then you can blame they just always blame Netflix.
Goblin Wars. It was an exclamation mark. That's why I yelled.
Oh, okay.
The Green Goblin and the Hobgoblin clash over Dr. Owens. Oh, I can't remember how.
That's the spot.
Remember, yeah, because we debated. They say it like Owen, but it's not spelled that way. But I'm still saying Dr. Owens. Time dilation accelerator. Meanwhile, Felicia is engaged to a smug playboy of whom Peter is greatly suspicious. I don't think that synopsis is true.
That's a really bad synopsis.
Because he's not suspicious of him because he's smug. He's suspicious of him because his spidey sense goes off. And he's like, could this be the problem? Or no, he's not. It's not. He doesn't.
He's
even
suspicious
think it's
because
him,
Wilson Fisk is there at the party.
Yeah, Wikipedia. No, we'll get in that. Save all on the last.
Also, that's only one sentence, which is really stupid. Like, there's so much more that happens.
And look at the spot. The spot one
has a long paragraph.
It is a huge paragraph. That synopsis is completely wrong. Other than Hobgoblin and Green Goblin do clash over the time accelerator. I think this.
I have a better synopsis. Well, my synopsis is very rough, but I can still.
What's your synopsis?
I'll highlight some things that happen in this episode.
Don't spoil anything yet, though. We gotta build up to some stuff.
Well, what am I not gonna spoil? I was just gonna tell what happens in the episode. How can I not spoil it? Okay, fuck you. We can just start.
Oh, just go. I was waiting. Just go.
Okay. Well, so MJ and Peter end up back together, and she has this like kind of debate. She's worried because she is such a dangerous person that she, is endangering Peter. Just total bullshit.
And I do love. I gotta pull up the line though, because they show all the flashbacks to everything that happens. They show like Hydra Man, everything like this.
I think it's like all the guys.
Yeah,
like,
all the guys.
All the boys that she's
everything bad, and at the end, Peter goes, things aren't that bad, MJ. Things are fucking awful in her life. Her life is a fucking train wreck. Yeah, she's a good person, but like, look at all this shit that has happened. Just like, I had it in quotes, things aren't that bad, MJ. Oh yeah, they are. They're awful, Peter Parker.
She's just, blowing out of the water. It's making a big deal.
When you get to Hobgoblin, don't say who it is. Just say his... no, you're going to have it there. So go. We'll start with Hobby.
I was just going to say, so Hobgoblin's trying to work with Wilson and Fisk, so we see Kingpin...
Classic Hobgoblin.
Coming back.
So good.
Fucking with Fisk once again.
Love it.
And then Kingpin's trying to find out... He's finding out from Norman who Hobgoblin is.
Yeah.
That's another part of this episode.
None
of these things are in the synopsis.
No. I love that back and forth Hobgoblin and Kingpin always have,
And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it.
Well, it's
as a quick synopsis, there's a lot more that happens.
But. It's tough where to start. I almost want to go...
I think, can we just go talk about the Felicia engagement? Because I guess that happened in the Spot episode that he proposed to her.
Right,
And that's why we were all really confused of, what is going on?
Yeah, we met Jason a few episodes ago.
I don't remember meeting him at all.
We did.
Yeah, you do, yeah. It's only one episode, though, right? It would probably only be in the Spot episode?
No, we met him a little while back at one point because remember she didn't like Jason and then Jason just took her out and she kissed him on the first date.
Oh yeah.
It was something again where I think Peter was kind of with MJ and he wasn't available for Felicia and turned her down once again and she was
like a season 1, season 2.
No, this was this season when it happened.
Oh,
Beginning of the season when Jason was introduced and she's kind of on the rebound from Michael, so that's why it was this guy. And then
she was pretty distraught about
Jason proved to be really nice. But I think Jason is still. I don't think he's that smug. I think he has smugness, but he's not.
I think he's just like a cocky rich kid. Is kind of the way he comes across.
Yeah,
but he's nice.
Said, like a frat rich boy, but I said he's suspect.
He is, but he is nice when he meets Peter. He's not like his
voice is so fucking annoying.
But that's
he's kind of annoying, yes, but he's not.
Mark
he doesn't seem like a bad guy.
Luke
that was Mark
Skywalker.
Hamill?
Yeah, he does the Hobgoblin, Mark Hamill.
What?
Right.
Yeah, and Jason. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's he's a very talented voice actor. And he did the Joker. He's done many voices in anime stuff. So the engagement, very quick, because obviously I haven't spot, but still, we've maybe seen in one previous episode. Felicia's always moving quick, so that's kind of par for the course. She loved Michael after one fucking joke he made, and that was about it.
It was a good joke, though.
It was. Why did you think he was suspect? Just because he was acting weird or whatnot, or
because he was kind of acting weird, but then the Spidey senses.
Mm-hmm.
The Spidey senses.
But they do explain that with Wilson Fisk. They try to make it seem like it's Fisk.
But it's like a pretty classic red herring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think it's this guy.
So you thought he was Hobgoblin. That's the one you did? Okay, I was going to say, because for months and months, this is the first episode, the day we did Hobgoblin, Kyle was like, oh, who is Hobgoblin? He tried to get at me. I'm like, we're going to wait. That was all the way back in season 2, one of the first episodes. Yeah. So it's been months later. What did you, Kyle, think about the reveal of who Hobgoblin was?
I was pumped.
Were you?
Yeah, because I was like, finally, only the beginning of this episode, I figured out who it was.
Would you be really disappointed if it wasn't him?
I would have been disappointed.
You're just still waiting. But how did you feel about who it actually was? I know that you're happy you found out. But now that's Jason, how do you feel like he worked as the Hobgoblin in the story?
I think he worked well as the Hobgoblin in the story and kind of just playing a completely different character of who he portrays and how no, this is actually who I am and I'm just essentially just using Felicia for her money.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things is when he's like, oh, do you love me? And he's like, well, I love things about you. And I like that he still wanted to marry her, and I like that it's all about having things for him, and Felicia was another thing. She was the token hot wife he would have that would fit his life. And it's he doesn't, when she asks him, he is kind of emotional about it, in a way where it's well, I like things about you. I like that you look pretty and you laugh at my jokes, and he's not.
He definitely didn't say laugh at my jokes.
So I know.
No, because it's important actually because everything he said is just super superficial.
Yeah, true. But I think that shows that he doesn't really know what love is, and it's not in that scene. They easily could have played it.
She says that.
Yeah.
She says, I know what love is.
They easily...
she
knows what love is.
She's experienced it.
Fuck off. I'm Team Felicia, but this one, I was back on the edge of MJ. I'll get to it later why. But I like that they easily could have spun it as Hobgoblin was super evil. Yeah, I'm using you because I like to ruin people's lives. He just thought this was another thing he needed in his life. And it seemed like he liked having Felicia around as far as just he likes her as far as she's pretty. Like he'd date her. Like
Arm candy.
He legitimately likes her. You know, that's what it feels like, and that's why I liked that. It didn't feel like I'm using you for your dad's company or this or that. It's like, okay,
dad's company.
whatever he thought love was, he thought he had that with Felicia, and that added so many. Again, layers to Hogbaum, because he does not have that at all in the previous episodes. He's just
not at all.
The layers he has is he's just a great con man and he's always playing somebody, right? But this was like, wow. And then after that scene, he's like arrested and it's like really sad and he goes to prison. Felicia's like lost in her love and it's like, wow, like
she's
really
not that lost in her love though.
I don't know. Well, this is like the third guy. Like I'll count Peter. Well, fourth with Flash, but more.
Here's why: because Spidey's out there on the deck talking with Felicia, and this is before the reveal.
Yeah.
And he asks her, you know, do you actually like this guy? And she's like, yeah, I mean, he's all right, and like unless you have like a better offer or something.
That's where I was not Team Felicia, because I've always been for, hey, I don't like that she's in love with Michael, it should be Peter, but whatever. She's literally wheeling. That whole scene is a little awkward for the both of them, though, because she's literally at her engagement party saying, you got a better offer. Just saying, I will leave him. I'll leave him right now if you say you'll be with me. This is the nitty-gritty of the show.
I mean, he is Spider-Man.
He is. But this is the thing that goes into question about even being Team Peter. Why is he caring? Well, I'm always Team Peter, but why is he asking these questions about Felicia? And they're not in like a...
Because he always has a hidden agenda.
Because Spider-Man is in love with Felicia.
Well, but that's still Peter.
He hides behind
and
that.
he's not asking in like a friendly way, like, hey, I just want to make sure she's with the right guy. Because when she's like, better offer, he's like, no, I don't. I can't do this. Like, you'll be happy with him, Felicia. Like, he says some lines like that, but you can tell...
He's questioning it.
Yeah, you can tell he's not happy. Like, he's not sure about Felicia marrying this guy, even though now 100% him and Mary Jane know they love each other. This feels like this should be the moment where, okay, he's chosen Mary Jane. When they get to the love, that's why he's waiting for the
But he's like,
show.
man, Felicia, you know, she's pretty cute. That's kind of what he's
Don't forget, Spider-Man loves Felicia.
These people want each other the most when they cannot have each other.
Yeah.
Felicia so many times could have had Spider-Man or Peter Parker when MJ was not in the picture. Doesn't want him. Then when she's about to get fucking married and Peter is in love with Mary Jane, they're like, hey, maybe this is our time. Like, could we do this? Like, I don't know. It just was...
It's amazing.
Peter was being really shady in that moment. And I don't know if I don't like it from actually a writing standpoint because... Spoilers, next episode something big happens with MJ, right?
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be him losing his ultimate love. Well, an episode prior to that, he kind of had a side deal potentially going on. So it's like, maybe not...
I don't think he had a side deal potentially. I think there was an offer on the table, and he was like weighing his options and realized that that option was not a good option.
But
he
he still took the meeting. He did not have to go on that porch. He, as Peter Parker, could have checked on Felicia. He did not have to ask her those questions. He, like I said, he turned the offer down, but someone still came to you, Kyle, and said, hey, do you want these burgers made out of people? And you went, okay, I'll consider it. And you talk about it, no, not for me. But you still took the meeting.
No. I think like, oh, hey, we're going to have a meeting. Sweet, let's have a meeting. Hey, you want these burgers made out of people? It's like...
Bye.
No,
I'm out.
He went in there asking her questions about the marriage, so that's why I don't think it's not like...
So what type of burgers are these? Oh, they're human burgers.
Yeah.
Oh.
But the meeting is like you going in being like, hey, do you like these human burgers? Like, you knew prior what it was kind of about. He knew, like, he did need to ask her those questions.
Is he being good to MJ? No. But has he ever been good to MJ? No.
I think
and I like it. I like it because it's just one of those things again where it's like, dude, what is up with you, Peter, man? Like, why are you so inconsistent?
The Chris is back and forth with
I would have liked it in the Venom or before that. I think for me the problem is it being paired with what happens to MJ in the next episode was the problem. I think because it's this big love thing. The focus should be on these last 3 episodes of the season. They're completely madly in love and nothing would tear that apart. This seems like there's still, even if it's 5%, there's 5% still on Team Felicia for him. And even if it's that Spider-Man, he's still thinking about like, man, I could bang her on the rooftop right now as Spider-Man and I'll be okay. And he's like, no, I'll go away. And he goes away. But like, I don't like any of that happening right now. Why? Why does it need to happen? That could have happened.
I think that's just enforcing that he is in love with MJ and there's this offer on the table and he's saying no to it.
I guess, but he's still the one opening the offer again. He's asking those questions. Like, It's still I wish it was a bit more her like. I wish it was more one-sided, but it didn't come off as just Felicia that's
maybe he asks it because he just kind of gets the feeling that she's not totally into him, and he's genuinely curious and like what her decision is.
But he shouldn't go when
because she's made some poor decisions in the past. Look at Morbius, that guy was fucking nuts.
If he goes to Spider-Man, he doesn't have to worry about like, oh, like she told me like whatever. Like, if he went as Peter and asked that same question, hey, are you in? That would have been super sus.
I would agree. I think I agree with you.
Come on,
it's different.
No,
it's different as Spidey because he knows he can ask these questions
because
he wants an answer, not because he's genuinely entertaining the idea of going to bang Felicia on the roof.
Okay, the balcony. Fair enough. But this is my counterpoint. If he just asked those questions just to make sure Felicia was going to be okay, that's fine. Yeah. But when she says, is there a better offer, he pauses and he thinks, and then he says...
Third person.
Then he says...
In third person, he thinks, he weighs his options.
But he still says, no, you'll be happy. And he, like, quickly gets the fuck out of there, like... The reason
maybe he wasn't expecting that though.
My problem is with him getting quickly out of there. It seems like if he would have been there 2 minutes, he couldn't have controlled himself. So that's my thing. Oh yeah. So that's my thing.
I think he's more just like, maybe a bit like shocked that she just said that. Like,
he was wanting it because that's my thing. You guys can say he's just asking those questions.
She's a temptress.
The fact that if he would have said, she said better offer, and he would have been like, no, you should be with this guy. You'll be happy. He thought about it, and then when he said that, he sounded very confused when he said that. He did not sound 100% bought into what he was saying. Like, the vibes I got from this Peter was the same vibes I got from when he wasn't with MJ. That's the vibes I shouldn't be getting from Peter right now. I should be getting more solid, like, no, you'll be happy with this guy. I hope your life will be okay. And he's like, yeah, I think your life will be okay. I can't offer you this. Like, I don't know. Super sus.
I know. I think he was just getting out because it was a bad situation, and he was like, "Oh man, I'm out."
It's pretty sus, but it's not highly sus.
I think it's highly sus.
I don't think it's highly sus.
You know why it's highly sus? Because you guys said if he had that exact conversation as Peter,
yeah, because I think it makes it different.
It's the same guy. I'm not saying on the spectrum, on the person, is it sus? I'm saying Peter's morals inside. That's super sus. That's still Peter Parker.
Hey, you know what? He's human, okay? He's human.
And half Spider-Man.
And you know what?
And half
Fair
Spider.
enough. I just had to point that out.
Yeah.
And then
what else happens in this episode?
Well, we still are we 100% fine on Jason? I love the actual reveal of her finding the lair and just like finding his shit around and the mask falls on her. I guess that he's roaming around his glider in his fucking office. Like,
he's a cool guy.
It was a great reveal. I think it happens a little easy.
I think for me, I wasn't stoked that he was the guy who ended up being Hobgoblin, just because I guess part of me was hoping it'd be some character that's been around for seasons.
But who would it be though, right?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't have any clue.
And this character,
I guess I was hoping for someone who we'd actually seen for like Flash. That would be kind of funny.
And
but at the end of the day, I do love Hobgoblin, and he like that episode in season 1 is like such a good episode, and such a great character that even though I wasn't a huge fan of the Jason character, still I love the reveal. I think you're right when she just discovers that what is this all hollow behind.
Do you like though that the Jason character is kind of a front though for who he is? That's why I like where Jason by himself, I'm like, he's just kind of a lame character. But the fact that it's Goblin again putting on a show of like I'm this smug, like that's why when he says these lines, I don't think he is actually smug. I think he's like I'm acting like what a smug guy would be like, right?
Yeah.
Like I think he's just kind of demented and just all about himself. And I will point out that this character Jason is one of the people that was one of the Hobgoblins back in the day. So they did keep it like comic accurate a little bit there.
Right. Well, I think it is meant to be that way. Like he just kind of cares as Jason about what his image is to other people.
Yeah. And how it can help him.
But really, like give him some free time. What is he gonna do? He's gonna go off and be Hobgoblin, go do some crazy shit, mess with some people, mess with Wilson Fisk, because he doesn't give a shit. It's Kingpin. I don't care.
Good.
Yeah, I don't know if we're ever gonna get him in live action, but man, we need him so bad because I feel
sick to see.
It's just tough because I just don't know because they've already done 2 Green Goblins. If they're like, man, is the audience kind of gobble him out? But Hobgoblin's different. Like I want him. I want that fucking costume.
Hashtag gobble the goblin.
And like him playing with like this whole front thing, you could have been watching the whole like movie, and then only for the end of the movie, this reveal of like this guy you thought was really good was actually the criminal the whole time.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to make that not obvious, I feel like.
Yeah,
But
that's
it'd
true
be cool.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you'd need like another villain, because then you wouldn't see that there'd be a second villain coming.
Yeah, it's
They kind of did it in spoilers, Homecoming with the dad. You know, they made it a twist that could have been obvious. They layered it good enough that you're like, oh shit, it's the dad. You know,
Yeah.
like
Oh shit.
I'm just trying to think of. I'm not gonna right now. I'm trying to think of great actors who can play that smug guy. One day we still gotta do a Spider-Man fan cast. One day we will
One day.
do it. So anything else on Hobgoblin? Also, we're gonna talk about him because he has a lot in that, but just like the Jason reveal or anything like that. I don't think so. Like I said, like you just see him in the background getting carted away by police in handcuffs.
Yeah.
He's still wearing his fucking costume with no mask.
No mask. It's weird.
I want that mug shot. Like he still like has it. But let's talk about Norman. Storm and Norman.
Storm and Normie.
Yeah. I will say on just like a easy level, I love anytime him and Hobgoblin are having scenes or action scenes together. I think they have a great back and forth because Green Goblin he's not like Cletus, but he seems unhinged. He seems like he's the smart, unhinged criminal, where Hobgoblin's this very cunning, sly criminal. And they're one and the same, but very different. Like the way they talk to each other, and anytime we got two goblins, they're just flying in circles throwing pumpkin bombs. It's a great episode.
Amazing.
Yeah, like you can't get any
miracle.
better than that. But yeah, I love any interactions they have, and just like I create you, and I'm the better goblin. He's like, well, I was the first goblin, and it's just like such a cocky like dick measuring they have with each other. It's great. I could watch a whole buddy cop movie.
Yeah, I think the dynamic of Norman's this character or Green Goblin's this character who, like, he can seem like a normal guy if you're just like talking to him as Norman, but sometimes he just can't control it, right? And he'll just go into like this crazy mode and be someone else. Whereas Hobgoblin, you can see as Jason, like he's always in control of himself, and he's very
he knows what he's doing.
He's self-aware, and
Yeah.
he's I don't want to say he's crazy even. Like I think he's just
I
like
don't think he is.
I think he's just
I
like
think
a
he's
smart
like a sociopath.
He's a smart trickster,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
Like
but
that.
like Goblin, that's the thing with him. Like Hobgoblin is so good at like the fighting and whatnot in like the action scenes because like okay, because he's smart, he can do this. When Green Goblin, he's just unpredictable because like you were just saying, with you don't even know when he's gonna turn in. We see that a lot in the next episode. He constantly is turning back at one point in between Norman and the Goblin, like back and forth. It's like you don't know what he's gonna do because he doesn't even know what he's gonna do, and it's great. And they have good chemistry. I love that Green Goblin, of course, has like a fucking bigger glider, like everything. Like he's like trying to like out macho him with just like more bombs, and he has like a glider that's on top of a bigger glider, and
I've always
like,
loved that.
bombs along the glider.
yeah, it's just
double
like
glider.
showing him up because he made all this stuff for him, right? And he knows who. Which I wish we. It
But
felt
like an arc, I feel like it was a little missing something. Like how did Hobgoblin and Goblin meet?
really random because they never really spent. I think
Goblin. It's like Goblin meeting place. Like there's probably some app or something.
well,
that hooks
maybe
them up.
there's some line in previous episodes that Hobgoblin got us stuff from Norman, but I felt that we maybe did need some backstory there of like why did he pick Jason to be the Hobgoblin, like to use the performance enhancers and all that. Like I wish there was some of that, so that felt a little missing. But then I think because I was having so much fun, it didn't worry. But it's like this could have made just like even better if we got a bit more like okay, if wouldn't Hobgoblin maybe guess that this could be Norman then because he knows Norman helped him with this stuff, right? And Norman's had some hard times, and Jason seems like a smart guy who could put it together. I don't know, but and then Kingpin in the middle of all this, which is great because it's just like he has deals that have deals, and Hobgoblin and him, like I was saying earlier, anytime him and Kingpin are together, it's just great. This one-upsmanship.
It's fun seeing Wilson Fisk too because we like for the most part in the show, bar a couple episodes, we only ever see him as Kingpin, just kind of in his lair.
I like when he's happy, Wilson Fisk in the party. He's like,
Yeah,
Mr.
exactly.
Parker!
He's just so kind. He's always, but you can tell like in the background he's like making deals with people.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
selling
I gotta
some
go meet
drugs
up with this guy over here.
He's in the corner.
That's not suspicious at all. He's this massive dude. Yeah.
He's so fucking huge.
Yeah, so I like seeing, I guess, both of sides of that character in one episode, just because we don't see it very often.
Yeah.
I also really like the back and forth, or whoever does the voice actor for Green Goblin.
It's great.
Is amazing. Even the whole mirror scene of like
The mirrors.
like him going back to like Goblin, because I'm assuming it's been a while since he's been Green Goblin.
I would think so.
I guess I'd have to look. It's been in the season though, but yeah, I'd give it like I'll say be nice and give them like 6 months, you know,
Yeah.
because they do show some flashbacks. Anytime they show flashbacks, I'm like, okay, I think that's the show's way of trying to tell you like a long time, like with Eddie, right? Like a few months have at least passed.
Yeah.
So okay, I'll give you 6 months.
And so like just to see him like go through his transition of like, no, like this is what it is, and Green Goblin kind of just puts this like idea into his mind of like what's happening.
Yeah, and the people trying to like screw him over and like,
Yeah.
oh, Hobgoblin will get in your way, and then obviously like
I'm here to like protect you.
Yeah. Which I think that's what I was gonna ask Dylan, because I think you were a little underwhelmed when Goblin debuted in this series.
Green Goblin.
Yeah, Green Goblin. Yeah, and I know this might have some to time with the second part because I feel he gets a big showcase in the second part. But did you feel? And I can just ask you, between this and the next episode, did you like Green Goblin?
I like him a lot more in this this 2-parter because I love and particularly in the part 2 how it's just this constant like switching back and forth.
Yeah.
And it's like mid scene and
Jackal
like
and Hyde,
and
pretty much.
and like because Spidey he's like fighting Green Goblin, but as well like as Peter he's like saying things to him to get through to Norman and talking about they're always talking about like Harry and stuff as well, and I love that dynamic and how he like can't really control it. And you can tell like there's like sometimes beams of light that's kind of coming out that he's trying to shine through, but I liked him a lot more in this. I'm still not a big fan of the voice. I think in terms of the voice acting and like going back and forth is really well done. And you can't notice it. I don't even know if he just records it at the same time or later or whatever. But I love the look of the character as well, like the green purple, the Jester's hood and all that. So. Yeah. I like him a lot more in this 2-parter.
Well, and the reason I brought it up was, Kyle, you brought up that point of like him talking about like Norman's enemies, and it's funny in that episode we meet the Green Goblin he like kidnaps a bunch of Norman's enemies.
Yeah. But
it felt very quick, and we didn't really know a lot of these people for the most part because I don't even remember if he kidnaps Fisk. I think he does, but that's the only one. But I think it's the thing as well where you can tell there's times where he is turning good, but then Goblin will remind him, like, oh, what about Harry? What about this? You know, where, because I think there's been more time, there's stuff they can allude to, where in the first episode it felt really quick, like, he's a goblin, and he's going to get all these people that he hates, and here we go. You know, where this was, like, the flashbacks and this build-up, and this stuff, which I'll bring up, too, stuff with Harry that happens, because, man, Harry comes up in the party.
He's so
This is the second time Harry comes up to him and saying, hey, Harry, we're friends.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah. He's like,
what'd you do with my girl? You took my girl. Which,
that's the second time in this episode he did that. Two times.
Yeah. Well, I guess so. And one time he, like, brushes Peter off. Like, is it not warranted, though?
I think it is.
I think it is. He did just take MJ's. He took.
I do agree from Peter's perspective though. Like if he got invited to this party, you would expect that you'd go up and say hi to the host, and he would.
I didn't invite you. My dad did. Or that's in part 2. Yeah,
and obviously that plays into like the story, and it makes sense that wise. But you can't blame Peter too much for like not expecting him to be kind of pissed off of him in that second encounter.
I wonder if he's like, did he even mention to his dad, like, why the fuck are you inviting these people? Like, I've told you that I dislike them. He's like, no, Harry, it'll be alright. And like, he's just like, he knows his dad invited him, but yeah.
Poor Harry.
Harry's super.
Like, what does Harry have going for him these days? Nothing.
Not much.
Spoiler. Nothing.
His hair?
His hair is definitely unlike anything else. Yeah, it's wild.
There's just one shot at the beginning of the episode of Goblin with like all the money he's fucking stolen and like all his like in some like bank lair he has. It's just great. It's all over.
Yeah.
He's just floating around. Anytime he's
just floating in
anytime he's on his glider, just with these hands doing shit. It's just great. I forget who it was, but we met Hobgoblin's spy in this episode.
Oh, right.
A few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Isn't it just some random like worker?
It's some guy that I've never recognized. Just some guy who works there and like makes batteries.
Because the last time we had Hobgoblin, he did allude that he had someone in there, and I thought it was gonna be someone bigger when I remember him saying that, but it is just a guy. But they answered that like loose end that he did have someone in there working for him, giving him info. So I like that. That's why I like the show when they, like I've said this before, like they don't treat it like an animated show, right? They time it. Sometimes they do. Yeah. A lot of times they do, but a lot of times they don't. And I feel like that was one where, hey, it's a little loose and we introduced probably 10 episodes ago, but let's just tie it out with some fucking janitor guy, you know? Like, okay, cool.
Yeah, like I forgot about that even, but it's good that you bring it up.
You go on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I also like how they explained that time dilation accelerator, and every time they have to say, like, that piece of equipment that's making him go through different portals or whatever, it's always that time to accelerate, or like acceleration, like that time dilation
Accelerator.
accelerator.
Say that a few times
Like,
fast, yeah.
It's like so many times, like, oh, he's got
Eventually, he just calls it my machine.
that. Yeah, thank
Yeah,
God.
like, that's a lot
The voice
simpler.
that Mark Hamill's like, no, let's cut this
Let's
line.
cut this line.
Yeah.
Too
I'm
repetitive.
Luke Skywalker.
I
I'm
quit.
not saying
Just
this.
walks over.
Yeah. I love there was one line where back to the Jason stuff. He was shaking Jason's hand and the spider sense goes off and he's like, danger. And he's like, the only danger I am in is being bored to death because Jason's talking
Yeah.
about something. Great. Peter's such a fucking asshole though.
He really
Jason
is.
legitimately is like asking about stuff and like just trying to like, oh, this is your friend Peter
To be
Parker.
fair, he was very like he was just talking about like
Himself.
Yeah,
But it was
very
just like he's
self-centered.
trying to like, but fair enough. But it's just
I know,
it's just
he
such a
was
little
pretty suspect the whole time.
he
Yeah.
was, but it's just such a little prick Peter line, just to be like, I'm being bored.
it's a
to
classic sassy Peter.
I also like to shout out that how Felicia found out the lair, or it really reminded me of Spider-Man when like, I think it was Peter
death.
or Harry.
He finds God. Yeah. I find that whoever wrote Spider-Man, I think
Watch
watch
that-
the series because there's a lot of
These
shit
next
that's
two
like I know
episodes.
some of it's from comic books, but there's just like a lot of pacing, a lot of things where it's like that seems peculiar. Like it's very similar. So, yeah, we talked about Raven. I love the Goblin Wars scene. They all like it's fantastic.
There's another shot as well. There's it's like a callback shot. Green Goblin is just flying off into the sunset, and he like goes off into like the moon as the backdrop.
Yeah.
And I think that was how the Hobgoblin, the original episode, ended.
And
So-
Venom ended with Venom in the Moon. Remember, they love
Right.
putting villains in moons. That's their
Zooming
cue
on.
card. Yeah.
Yeah, so I like seeing that again, especially because we had it with the other Goblin
Yeah.
a couple seasons back.
And then I put this line in because we already talked about, but like I know what love is like, and I was like, "What is love like, Felicia? Tell me. I want to sit you down. And be like, what is love like?
At one point, Spidey is saving some dudes. I can't remember exactly what happens, but he says, "Hang on there, old timer." And I was just kind of confused because like the guy wasn't old. Like, he didn't look old at all.
He's older than Peter.
Like he didn't even have like a gray hair on his head. And I was like, that's kind of. Do you think that's maybe just
Insult.
rude to just call this guy old for like a particular reason?
Everybody, he starts calling Harry old timer. I'm
Yeah.
like 2 months older than you, Pete.
Felicia.
Yeah.
And I have a good quote from Hobgoblin here, talking to Kingpin. Be there or be square, or in your case, it'd be easier to just be there.
He's so fucking good, and you know
He
what?
just doesn't give a shit. He's
You
like,
know-
it's Kingpin. And he's like, I don't care, man. I'll just trash
You know
talk."
what? Fuck it. It's all part of Disney. Just have Mark Hamill come back and be fucking Hobgoblin if they do him in the Spider-Man Homecoming sequel. Like, he doesn't have to do the action.
No.
He can be in the mask. He can do the voice. Just do it. Like, he's so good. Yeah. Yeah, I have no more notes.
I have one more quote. At one point, they're talking about how this is in Kingpin's lair, and they're talking about how Hobgoblin just vanished into thin air, and Kingpin's like, "Thin air, my eye," which is just instead of my ass, he says my eye. And I was like, that's
Yeah,
a really
I forgot
interesting
about
choice. Like, I feel like there was many other ways you could have gone in terms of writing a line that would
You
kind
know,
of be like a little sassy remark, and like
but not spoofing the my ass
instead of
line.
just saying my eye.
I hope there's some kid that grew up their whole life thinking that was the real.
Hey, it's
version
not
of
my
it.
ass, guys. It's my eye.
yeah, it's
Shut
probably
up.
Taylor.
It's beat up. Definitely
yeah.
Taylor.
Anything
Definitely
else on the
Taylor.
Goblin War, Kyle, yourself?
I think I have one where I don't know if it's this episode where I think Hobgoblin or Spider-Man says, "Oh, that's a sticky situation." Like one of them was like stuck in a web and he couldn't get out.
Yeah,
That was really
it's a classic line.
Classic line. We all done then?
Yeah.
I'm hitting it with the big 2 thumbs up. Love everything about this episode. We got relationship drama. We got reveals. We got Goblin v. Goblin. Wilson Fisk is in there. Peter's doing his good thing. MJ and him are apparently going strong, but I don't think that's a real case. You got Salty Harry. This episode, this is one of these classic, premium Spider-Man animated series episodes where if you want to show someone what the show is about in a nutshell, this is it. You got everything you like going on here.
Yeah.
So Goblin War, 2 big thumbs up for this one.
I'm gonna drop it a big thumb.
Oh.
Good episode. Really good.
I'm gonna give it
Awesome.
2 big thumbs.
Okay,
I
we're
thought-
2 big thumbs.
Yeah, I
Not
thought
just
this
2
was
thumbs, but 2 big
like
thumbs.
out of all the Spider-Man retros that we've reviewed so far, like this is by far probably one of my favorite episodes.
There is a big. This was a lot because I think the difference with the last one,
Yeah.
Carnage was new, and even Dormammu was around.
Yeah.
It was really new storyline. This is stuff that had been building for quite a while. With Harry, Goblin, Hobgoblin.
Mhm.
That's what I asked you doing. Why not 2 thumbs up? I thought you were gonna give it a 2 thumbs up.
I might for this episode, this upcoming.
Oh, okay,
Oh, okay.
fair
Who
enough.
knows? You'll have to
Yeah.
wait and find out.
Also that was that I forgot to say that was based on Amazing Spider-Man 312 through 312. Sorry.
312.
Turning Point, the season finale of season 4. Season 3. Norman. I was looking at season 4. Each individual
Is that another
title.
one sentence synopsis of this episode?
No,
Come on.
For season 4, each individual title had partners in danger. I'll say that with these seasons, they don't need these fucking the sins of the father.
No.
Green Goblin attacks, episode 8. Like, it's like, god damn, this is like Medium Dictionary, like a long time. Turning Point, Norman Osborn, still with Goblin control, tries to use the transporting device to find out Spider-Man's secret identity. This leads to a fateful confrontation between Spider-Man and Green Goblin that will change the Wall Crawler's life forever. I think this is a great episode. This is one of these that feels like a movie. It's probably because we've already got it a few times with Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man. There's a lot. He even gets taken out the same with his glider.
He does, exact same way.
It happens in the comics as well too, but it's like it seems like it's shot for shot.
Yeah, it did.
You got the bridge with Mary Jane season 1. Oh. You got Gwen Stacy falling. You got all the tropes. So this is like classic anime, like classic Spider-Man, like paying lots of tribute to the comic books. I think this is the closest we've gotten to, and maybe it's on par of the Venom episode, where it feels like there's just once Norman finds out that Spider-Man is Peter Parker, there is just this intensity throughout the whole episode.
A lot of tension.
You're on edge the entire time. That party scene where he's just hitting around
at the dinner table.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that whole segment.
Yeah, so I'm excited to talk about this episode, but this is one of these. This is another top tier one. This is to me on part of the Venom one where I'd say I want this as a movie. We've already gone it. That's why I love Spider-Man 1 the movie, because I feel like they do this so perfectly. You get the Thanksgiving scene, everything like that. But yeah, fantastic episode.
Yep.
Great season finale too.
I agree with Travis.
I have nothing more to add.
So then let's talk about how he finds out about Peter Parker as Spider-Man. I like how they did it. I can't remember how it goes in the comic books. It is very similar where Green Goblin is following him. I think it's literally just Green Goblin's that fast, and his spy sense keeps going off. He looks, he can't see them, and then he does find out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. That's ripped and it's the same shots of him by the garbage, him look, and Goblin.
I like that we actually got to see Peter has like that little sack thing.
Little hideout thing.
I don't think we've ever seen one of those.
A couple times he's had over shoulder or something like that. Like when he's in a rush. Yeah.
Or like Madam Web, he was in like an alley and Madam Web like threw back into the alley.
I was wrong.
But it's as a comic fan, it's great to see, and I think them using what did they call it in this one? The transporting device. That's Wikipedia. I'm going to go with that instead of time dilation. Sorry. The transporting device.
The machine.
The machine, yeah. I think that was a smart way to do it, because anytime his spider sense would go off, you'd look, he's gone. Makes complete sense. And I like that there's a struggle right when he finds out that it's Peter, that Norman pops his head back like, this is my friend. And like, he's not your son's friend. He took his girl. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to do it as well. And if it alludes to the comics, that's pretty sweet. Yeah, good stuff.
I'm just in awe with this whole this 2-parter episode. I just can't believe I think it's just really cool that we watched the Spider-Man movie, and then to see them take so many renditions from or parts from this
well, and then comics. It's this trifecta of
it just
adaptation to adaptation.
Yeah, and then making it a bigger thing. I don't know. I think it's just amazing.
Yeah, and then let's talk about the dinner scene, because that dinner scene, he knows something's wrong. Peter knows something's up from the second Harry's like, "Hey, my dad invited you." Like, why would he invite me? And the whole time, the beginning of the episode, Peter, which I guess we can talk about, Peter's questioning. He questioned a little in the first episode, but is Norman not the Goblin anymore? He slipped. Why is that? And I think not even from a joking perspective, story standpoint, should Peter have done more to investigate this? Because it feels like Peter is kind of oh, well, hopefully he's Norman.
Yeah.
He should have been on that more. And I can get it, there's lots happening. I think
especially because he even mentions some suspicions he has that he was invited or that he heard that Norman was just around working or something. He's like, oh, I guess he's back to normal or something.
Yeah, and just to assume that...
It seems very strange.
I think he was
someone
on edge about it the whole time, though. It wasn't just oh, I'm just going to go. He was very this is a little weird, but I'm going to roll with it.
But I guess my thing is maybe he should have said to MJ, hey, let's not go with this, and him investigate somehow or something. It seems like...
I guess maybe he couldn't think of a way tell her why he can't go to this party.
He dumps her all these other times, but he can't think of one way to like. And I guess it's just because I think it works because it sets up what happens later. Kind of shows Peter was a little irresponsible, so he paid for it. But from a character standpoint, yeah, you should have been on this because this is partially your fault. You're the only person in the world other than Norman that knows he's the Goblin.
Yeah.
You kind of have some responsibility. And even then, should he still be allowing Norman just to live his normal life? I get it because he's like, hey, if I turn him in, that's my friend's dad. But at the end of the day, it's still like, this guy could turn to a complete maniac, and we're just hoping that he's gonna be okay.
But like that maniac was like more not towards the general public, more towards like people who oppose.
Still people though.
Yeah.
Right? They're still.
I guess he must feel like he has the ability to stop him if he does come about again. Goblins on loose. But
how'd that turn out, folks?
Because he didn't know, he wouldn't have known that he would have this time dilation device. Mm-hmm. So that obviously that makes the character a lot more scary.
Transporting device.
The machine makes it a lot more difficult to track this guy if he can just teleport. Yeah. And obviously in this episode he perfects the device such that he doesn't need batteries, or he has an infinite amount of batteries
to a point
and
until it drops on the cement, and then it's fucking...
He didn't account that it's not that durable. He didn't put a phone case on it, and so when it fell, it just smashed and broke. Which
should have got that service.
And then he didn't really care. He's like, I'm still gonna go in it even though it's broken.
I know.
It's like risky move.
Hobgoblin established last episode. If we go through that and it cuts off, like you could lose an arm or something. Because remember, his cape gets cut off. Hobgoblin. That's how he realized. Oh, it's a little finicky.
He's pretty pissed at that too, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he's like my cape. And like, but Green Goblin, two shits. He'll risk it. He can get decapitated. He's like, well, go on.
I guess that goes along with his craziness.
Unhinged.
He can't really think straight. Sort of vibes.
Yeah. Whole dinner scene is great. Like Norman, it's the classic. It's classic villain knowing the hero is the hero. It's the same scene as like what I did like in BVS with Batman and Superman knowing each other. Like anytime you get people knowing each other's secret identity, it's always great. It always builds tension. And then this does it well. It does it really well.
I think this is also responsible for like Peter's biggest piece of shit moment of all time, where he realizes that Norman is onto him. And so his solution is, I'm gonna fucking burn this house down. It's like, dude, what is wrong with you? Like I was so surprised. He has this girl that he loves in this house. He has Norman. He has Harry. There's a ton of people, and it's like this big expensive house. He's like, I'm gonna fucking burn it down.
I need a distraction.
I was just like baffled. Like Peter is a total piece of shit sometimes, and this is where I disagree with you.
It is a piece of shit move, but I think it was warranted. Desperate times call for desperate measures. I think he needed something that big, and I love when he does it. He gets everyone in the house, and he's like, Norman's still in it. When he goes in, Goblin is there floating in the smoke, just coming out.
Like I feel like he could have been like, I'm feeling really sick. I have a stomachache. We need to go, MJ.
Then why
he does say that?
He should have done that though before. They shouldn't even went to the fucking party. Like that's where Peter's
responsible. I agree. Yeah.
Like,
no, I don't even know why MJ would want to go to this party. That'd just be super awkward.
And imagine
you're like, we're getting married to this guy, but then you're like, actually, I'm just your friend.
Well, no, I think they said that at the before, like, oh, we're going to this dinner, and Peter's like, I don't know if we should go to this dinner because like he think I took
and then
her
MJ's
girl.
like, but we were invited, Peter. Yeah. But he should be like, you know what? It doesn't matter. I got Felicia on the side. I can leave you at any moment. Let's go home. But I would have loved in like a parallel universe where he burns the house down and Norman just had like this surprise engagement party for them. Like that's why he's being all suspicious. And Harry was like, oh, it's all good. Like as he sees the firefighter and they're taking out like engagement presents and everything. It's like Harry forgiving him.
Like burnt corpse. just make it super dark.
There's these web cartridges. Oh, Spider-Man, he's a fucking murderer.
They found something interesting in the fireplace.
Web cartridges, and for some reason, like Peter's wallet, and it's like, oh no, he's Spider-Man. He just gets revealed.
His whole life.
That would not be good.
And then Aunt May or MJ's aunt was right all along. Not Peter Parker.
Oh yeah, there's another moment in this episode when the aunt just goes off on Peter. I love that every time. It's so that's all the character is. That character's whole purpose is to just get mad at Peter for being Peter.
But the whole dinner scene is great when he's just like, I can't remember all the exact lines he says to him when they're at the actual dinner table, and he's just like saying just something just like, oh yeah, there's a lot happening in your life, huh, Peter Parker? And like he says something. It's they're he finds out they're engaged. He says, I can't remember what he says. Like, oh, what about this new partnership? Like he says something that would allude that him.
Yeah, what was the word?
I can't.
Starts with a C. Definitely starts with a C.
oh, you've been colluding a long time you've been conspiring a long time to get together. And it's just like shots of like Spider-Man and shots of like conspiring against Harry and everything. And I love that Harry's just like, yeah, they're like, during the scene he says just something like, he's at the dinner table just like, yeah, and they're together. And Norman seemed like the worst father of the year. Yeah, you guys have been conspiring together for a long time. But he's like really happy about it.
Yeah.
So from Harry's point of view, his dad's a piece of shit. His dad
Harry's life sucks.
Oh, he does
I feel so bad for Harry.
Him and Felicia, they should be finding each other somehow.
That'd be cool.
It never happens, I don't think, unfortunately. She's not gonna date that fucking red hair fucker.
With Jason.
Not anymore, he's in prison. She's not gonna stay engaged to him. She gave him back the ring, remember, too?
I don't think he's gonna be in prison for that long.
But she's not gonna marry him.
He's forcing the marriage on her.
That's not gonna happen. You can't force a marriage on her.
Well, that's what he said.
Yeah, but what do you think, he's gonna kidnap her and like bring her to like Vegas and they're gonna marry like Elsa's Chapel?
Look, they're not gonna like get married, but he's just gonna kidnap her.
Okay, fair enough. The marriage thing threw me off, but
well, okay, so one thing right before they walk, MJ and Peter walk into the party. MJ says, "Try and be sensitive to Harry's feelings," and Peter just throws like finger guns and a wink. I just thought that was like, he's just kind of like mocking her, and like, I just loved it.
And you want to sum up this?
And then he like zooms it on him too.
So here's one thing I'll say about the show. I've loved doing this show. This show is probably, honestly, one of the worst adaptations of Peter Parker as a character. If you really think about it. He's a piece of shit. That scene sums up Peter Parker in this show. He says it to your best friend's feelings because we fucking like went behind his back and I left him for you and just like yeah, like imagine Tom Holland Spider-Man doing that. You'd be like, that's so out of character. It doesn't fit at all. That's like that the way he acts. I figured out the way that this Peter Parker acts. He acts like the way Tobey Maguire does in Spider-Man 3 when he has the symbiote. He's sometimes like the way he's jockey and he says something.
Except he doesn't have the goth emo hair and the eyeliner.
He's one step away from being a douchebag symbiote Spider-Man.
And then actually later as well, Norman throws finger guns and a wink back to Peter at some point. I don't remember what that reason is.
Probably at the dinner table.
Probably at the dinner table.
So then let's talk about the finale here. I'll say once again, I think Spider-Man's best fight scenes with villains. You got Venom in there, but next Doc Ock I think is in there too. Anytime he's fighting a Goblin, it's great. Like you can do so much with the web shooters and the glider, but there's just scenes where they're just rolling on rooftops together, just fighting.
Yeah.
Great fighting, great back and forth. We already alluded to it, but there's a one moment where Goblin's on the glider and he just keeps going back and forth between Norman and Goblin, and it's great. And there's just one moment where like he thinks he has him, and then like Goblin just looks up and starts laughing. He's like, oh, he's gone. Like it's it. Like there's no more Norman at this point.
Yeah.
It's fantastic, all that. And then the big moment, the big plunge. Oh, okay. Did you guys see that coming? Because obviously there's
I didn't see that coming at all.
I'm surprised because I thought you might see it because obviously like the Goblin and Gwen Stacy thing in Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2 and then MJ. So this is how Gwen Stacy actually dies in the comics is like this where Goblin takes the Brooklyn Bridge, she falls, and Spider-Man tries to save her. Not the same way as Amazing Spider-Man. He tries to save her. She is dead. And he's like, you killed the woman I love. So they pretty much did that. They just swapped MJ for Gwen Stacy, and instead of her dying, she ended up going into the portal. Yeah. So like dying but away. But what do you think about this whole sequence of events? We'll talk about Goblin's final fate.
Yeah, dude, this whole episode like just seemed to keep like the hype just seemed to keep inclining.
A lot of stakes.
It kept going up and up and up. And so to end with that conclusion, I think first of all it's a perfect way to end a season. It's like a good cliffhanger.
Again with MJ always being missing.
Always MJ. I mean, she's very elusive that one. Yeah, because that like the end of season 2 was when she's like, "Oh, that's my father," and she's like,
"Don't leave me again, Dad."
that guy's pretty sketchy, MJ. Don't follow him.
Remember that episode with old Peter and she thought it was her dad?
Yeah.
Don't leave me again, Dad. Oh, fuck. She's been through so much.
That was so sad.
She's been through so much.
Oh, it's not that bad, MJ.
Let her die. Yeah. No, I thought it was a lot of fun. That whole scene on the bridge is very. I mean, it's such a great imagery, and I think that whole like all the fighting in these 2 episodes is really strong. So.
It paced really well. It builds from just like hey, him and Goblin are fighting. Hey, he got MJ. Hey, MJ is to Peter dead. And then it goes into Peter literally is gonna, like, he doesn't say kill, but he says he's gonna kill Goblin. Like, he says he's gonna destroy him, I think. Like, I will destroy you. And then last second he turns, like, I can't do that.
He gets really mad. Like, we've never seen Peter as fierce as this.
I love legitimately the voice acting in these scenes. When MJ dies, I think the voice actor does a great job at actually portraying, like, he feels like he's so mad and he's just broken. And then we just even jump again where, okay, he's gonna save Goblin, and then he fails and Goblin, like, fucking, like, dies. And just, like, that in, like, 10, like, 12 minutes, that felt like half an hour in, like, a good way. Like, that just felt like an hour of just so much stuff. But Kyle, you said you didn't see it coming. You thought MJ was gonna make it out? Or what did you think was gonna happen?
I didn't see, like, the whole, like, portal thing coming.
Yeah.
That's what I meant by that.
Okay.
But, like, I wasn't too sure what they were gonna do. Like, I thought, oh, maybe Spider-Man will have a chance to save her. But it was just cool to see, like, she just disappears in thin air, and
he thinks she's in the water.
And he can't find her. So
that's also the first time we ever see this belt light that he has. This Spidey belt light. I love how that's just a thing, and it's just like some random red light he has on his belt. He's always had it with him.
When else did he need that other than right now? When else?
I'm trying to think back and like picture a time when it's been really dark, or like maybe he could like surprise blind someone. I don't know.
Vulture because he's blind or old.
I mean, maybe maybe the trick is that it only works underwater, so it's just very specific.
Hydra Man, like I said.
Hydra Man.
Yeah. So Kyle, what do you think about all this?
Like overall?
No, just that chunk of the ending, I guess.
All this events like really led up really well, and it was so much fun and so intense to watch, and I was on edge and goosebumps the whole time of like kind of knowing like what was happening, but not knowing what was happening at the same time. And I think like these writers like really knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
With, like these two episodes to really build all of this up. So. I don't know. It was just amazing.
And then she's missing. Madam Web scoops him up, and he's just like, "I'm tired of your games." I did feel like he was tired of her games.
He's pissed. Man. Like, he just lost his love of his life.
Yeah, and he's like saying, "Can you bring her back?" And she's just kind of like, "Oh, the Great War," and he's like, "I don't care about this right now." Like Madam Web maybe could like be like, "Hey, this really sucks." Like she could take a moment to maybe say, "Oh, this was I feel really bad for you," but she's just always talking about the fucking. She's just Bane.
Some big war that's gonna happen.
Yeah. So and then it ends with he's lost the one he's love, and then we did talk about Gollum. Really, Gollum gets sucked up as well. Yeah. He's gone.
Yeah, we did quickly mention it, but that scene, his death scene. Well, I don't know if he dies fully, but. That scene, his send-off scene is really well done.
Yeah, Glider. And that is the moment I was talking about when he turns out he's just purely Goblin. Yeah. And his eyes are like even almost like a little yellow and he's like starting to go really crazy and you're like, oh yeah, he's completely gone. And then Peter's lost everything. Even though he was going to try to save Norman, didn't go well. And then this season, like, I think this
And then it was this episode and the first part that he was talking about, I have everything I need. I'm ready to give up. I'm ready to hang up the coat.
What's it, Madam Web? About all of that. Yeah.
So I think that's probably the most depressing finale. Yes, MJ went missing last season, but it was just like this, like it was shoehorned, like last 30 seconds, like she walks away, she sees her dad, and then she's gone, right? Yeah. Not really the effects, but this you feel like, oh man, this is that's why they call it turning point.
I know. I almost like wanted to watch the next episode of like what would happen. But
we're gonna be soon.
I'm quite curious what happens. Mm-hmm. One thing I like is Madam Web's using like these tarot cards to, fuck with him and use riddles and stuff like that. And I like the idea of using like the two-headed dragon to describe Norman and the Green Goblin. Mm-hmm. I just thought that was an interesting imagery.
Kind of is almost. I feel like it's. Can allude to Peter and Spider-Man as well, right?
I think
especially this Peter Parker.
It alludes to a lot of people in this show.
Yeah.
Goblin, Hobgoblin, Jason.
Hobgoblin.
Not Harry.
Definitely not Harry. Harry's
not Harry.
The red-haired dragon. Do we have anything else we want to mention about this season finale, season 3?
A quick quote from Spider. I don't know why I called him just Spider. That's very strange. Anyway.
Oh, he's on a first name basis. I see. Wow.
Me and Spider. Anyway, I forget what exactly he's talking about, but he describes something. It's some kind of super hard metal. I can't break it. It's just like I don't know. I feel like it's very lazy. It's some sort of super hard metal. Like that's the best you can do. He's had so many like great one-liners throughout the show and so many puns. So I just thought he could have had more there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not a lot of punning in these last episodes.
No, honestly,
pretty serious.
I think the last half or even most of this season. Like I think they kind of toned that down in general. It's the Spidey one-liners.
I think it's whenever he's dealing with like even Venom Carnage, like interdimensional, like they kind of tone it down a bit to show like, oh, Peter's serious this time, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I will. Do you have anything? No. 2 thumbs up again for me. This is up there. If I have to talk about like 2-parters, the Venom one and the X-Men one, those 3 together are like prime animated Spider-Man, and you could show that to anybody. I think they'd enjoy them. So yeah, great episode and great end of the season.
Yeah, I think for me that's a perfect way to describe it. Like this really is a perfect way to end of the season. Like Madam Web is kind of saying that she's gone until like she's gonna come back for Peter's biggest challenge or something like that. So she's kind of gone. MJ's obviously off in the cosmos. We see, Norman's gone.
She's
now.
literally just like
in limbo. Yeah.
Very, very much in limbo.
You don't get to see where Norman is though. You get to see Mary Jane in limbo, but I wonder if she bumps into the spot.
Who knows? Yeah. He's always chilling somewhere. There's a lot of people in those other dimensions.
Maybe they'll link up with Venom and Carnage's dimension as well.
Dormammu and MJ unite. And then just like even though Aunt May's only in this episode briefly, I like that she's still in this season finale, and Flash and Deborah are in this episode as well. So I don't know, it's just cool that they kind of have like all those OG sort of characters chilling, even if it is just brief. So yeah, I mean between the fight scenes and all the characters and all the stories, awesome episode. Double thumb for me.
Double thumbs.
Nice. I'm gonna give this episode 2 thumbs as well. Maybe even a toe.
Oh,
big toe.
Now we got a new rating.
Bring feet into it.
Just because, like, there's a lot of parallels, I guess, for the comics and also from the TV show, and just like these past 2 episodes have been done so well, and I just want to keep now I want to watch more.
Yeah,
and figure
makes
out
you
what's
remember
happened.
why we're doing this podcast.
It gets you stoked for season 4.
For this, yeah. And so I don't know, it's mind blowing.
Well, that's what I'll ask a couple of questions. How do you think MJ comes back, and how long do you think she's gone? Do you think it's like last year where she's back in the pilot? Do you think it's a couple episodes? Do you think it's season? What do you guys think?
Dude, it's hard to say. Like so many people have access now to like interdimensional stuff. Like we got Doctor Strange, Tony Stark. I don't know. There's a lot of people out there. Carnage, a lot of Carnage acting. I'm not sure how she's gonna come back, and I think judging from any predictions I've made on what's gonna happen previously in the show, I'm always wrong. So
because that could be hard, but when? How long do you think she could be gone, or do you think we'll ever see her?
I think we'll see her in season 4, but not in the maybe like in the second half of season 4.
Okay, second half. Kyle, what about you?
I think I'll agree with that as well too.
Okay.
I just feel like
Peter's gonna go off and like maybe meet some new women.
Oh, that's what I was gonna ask you next. What happened?
Meet some new girls.
What do you think happens now? Felicia, Peter, both single. Does that have any bearing on the season?
I don't think so. I think he's just gonna be more of this. Not betrayal, but not shock.
Mary Jamie betrayal me,
yeah.
bitch. You left me, you died.
Like he
I chose you and you died.
You sunk to the bottom of the lake.
I should have chose Felicia.
I think he's just gonna feel destroyed for a while, and it's gonna definitely change his character for the next few episodes.
It's gonna be a bit depressing.
And very a little bit depressing. And still have that anger as well too. So I think it's gonna be him trying to like move on and like try to deal with that side, and then maybe we'll see something else after that, but I'm not too sure.
I don't remember the episodes, but I'm gonna look out specifically to see how much he quips and see if that's even toned down quite a bit, even more so. And then I'm gonna look for the first episode to see how much time has passed since the finale, because I don't know if there is a time jump or not. I feel like there is a little one, not like years or anything, but I just feel like there is. So I'm gonna look out and see if is it like only a week later, is it a few months after? So. Yeah, and I guess I can't ask my good old, who do you think Hobgoblin question is?
That question has gone.
The question's been answered.
Unless it was all a ruse in this 2-parter, and he really wasn't the Hobgoblin.
Well, that was a big thing in the comics. There was like 5 different Hobgoblins, because really the writers couldn't decide who it was, but it was like, oh yeah, he wasn't the Hobgoblin, he was mind controlled. It's this guy now. This guy, yeah. So that's why it's kind of fun to play at that. But and other than that, is there anything you're wanting? Is there any characters you want to return? Is there anybody we haven't seen? We've seen Iron Man, we've seen the X-Men, we've seen Daredevil. Is there someone you haven't seen you want to see? And if not, is there someone you want to return for season 4?
I'd be down for some more X-Men action, honestly. I'd be down to see some more of them come back. Definitely some more Daredevil. I don't know. I think honestly, there's not too many characters they could bring back and I'd be disappointed by.
Yeah.
You know, whether or not they're this kind of the
Rocket
star
Racer?
of the episode, Rocket Racer, or if they're just kind of like a side character that bumps into Peter or bumps into Spidey for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, I mean, I'm down with whatever they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm
I
ready.
think they went over a lot of we've seen a lot of characters now, so to bring maybe a couple of them back for some sort of team up, and I really hope that Peter actually uses a lot of these like connections he now has.
Yeah, he doesn't really.
But he doesn't, because he doesn't really use the connections. They kind of just appear and like, oh, we're here to help you. And it's like, oh, I guess we should.
Yeah, if War Machine wasn't
He's
here,
got a
he'd be
pretty
fine.
massive ego. So.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe like this whole like MJ being in this time warp or limbo thing might help him realize like, hey, you know what? Like I need people to help me with some of these things that are a lot
Like
bigger
Felicia
than
to help him with stuff.
Ooh.
Ugh.
Almost some patio
No,
stuff.
TMJ.
Yeah,
Team Felicia for life. Yeah, I'm very excited to get to the next season because I think there's something in there that is going to shock you guys. I think there's something that you guys don't know.
Spidey dies.
Yeah, and then actually MJ's aunt is the main character the rest of the
Turns
season.
out MJ was Madame Web the whole time.
Oh,
And Aunt May was Hobgoblin.
Oh yes!
wow.
That would actually make me so happy. Like I would love that.
But yeah, I can give this as a tease for the viewers and even for you guys.
Yeah.
We'll be doing the first 3 episodes because I looked the first 3 episodes of the season, and that's the first 3 episodes. That's when you get this this big thing, and I think you guys are gonna be quite surprised. I think it's gonna be a turn, but it's from the comic books, and you guys are gonna be so you'll know exactly what it is. The second it happens, you'll be like, "Wow, I didn't see this coming." But it's gonna be a good discussion piece to have. So,
Nice.
anything to say on this ending of season 3?
If you've never seen any Spider-Man 1994
Now's the time to
special,
join.
watch the last 2 episodes.
Wow, just the
Of
last
season
3. You don't think it's not as good though if you skip the other stuff? I think you do gotta watch some of that stuff.
I think the
You
problem
at
is-
least gotta watch the Hobgoblin episode.
I think
And the
it
Green
was-
Goblin
yeah,
episode.
Yeah, that's
And all
true.
the episodes of MJ.
Yeah.
And all the episodes of
And the
Felicia.
X-Men episodes and the Daredevil.
There's a lot of good episodes.
Not Rocket Racer. You can skip
There's
and
more
the Spider
good
Slayer.
episodes than there is bad
Skip
episodes.
the Spider Slayer.
Skip the Spider Slayers, yeah.
Anything with Smythe. don't
Poor
give
Smythe. Has his dank mullet
They-
cruising around.
Him and Harry need a buddy cop show as well.
Okay, no.
Oh, thank you very much for tuning in. You can find us everywhere on the
Everywhere.
internet. Oh yeah,
Every
any
single
podcast
place.
service. If we don't have it, let us know. iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play. Give us some reviews. Subscribe on YouTube, please. We need those subscription nowadays. Fucking
YouTube's
YouTube
making it
taking
hard
our
on us.
money away. But you know what? That's why you subscribe. You give us a helping hand. If you want to give us even more helping hand. And right now, these episodes, these are ones you can get definitely early. There's episodes, previously you could get like months and months early of the Spider-Man Retrospective. Head over to Patreon, spend $1, spend $5. Don't spend $5 on that beer. You know why? It's not good for you. It's not healthy.
It's true.
Spend it on us. Skip one beer and get great, even juicier content from the Spider-Man Retrospective. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And we'll catch you on the web.